FBI's hands are tied. They just have to be a spectator and watch deep state actors lie and for the purpose of misleading the public about the Hunter Biden laptop for the purpose of getting Joe Biden elected. Hands tied on that one. Hands tied when it comes to everything related to the investigation into Biden Inc., to the extent there actually is one, which is the point that Ted Cruz made.
Is the FBI, do they make a routine practice of allowing partisan political optics to prevent investigating serious evidence of corruption?
My instructions to our people on this and on every other investigation are that we are to follow the facts wherever they lead, no matter who likes it, no matter what political influence there may be out there.
Then why did you get the GPS data on where Hunter Biden and Joe Biden were?
Again, Senator, with respect, I can't discuss an ongoing investigation.
And Director Wray, you and I have gone round and round on this because I understand. Anytime you're asked about this, the answer is it's an ongoing investigation. Of course, the investigation isn't ongoing. You're not doing the work. You got whistleblowers pointing out that you're not doing the work. And you are hiding behind the skirts of the Attorney General.
Ongoing investigation.
Yeah, everything's an ongoing investigation.
Here's our canned answer about how we go where the facts lead, because we're in the business of law enforcement, not politics. Sure, and we're supposed to believe him.
I don't trust him.
We're supposed to believe him because he gives the textbook answer. But is the behavior consistent with the textbook answer? Josh Hawley querying Christopher Wray about accountability when it comes to the targeting of Catholics. And now, as we found out, mentioned yesterday, per this report on the incident emanating from the Richmond field office for the FBI, FBI agents interviewed a priest, interviewed a choir director, trying to get information about a parishioner. And this is all because of some manufactured concern about Catholics who attend Latin Mass. They have processes for that. Christopher Wray is appalled, just like Merrick Garland is. Has anybody been held accountable?
Director, this is one of the most outrageous targetings. You have mobilized your division, the most powerful law enforcement division in the world, against traditionalist Catholics, whatever the heck that means, and you just told us you have not fired a single person. I mean, here, it gets worse. Your Richmond field office, they thought there was nothing wrong with this. The House interviewed the head of the Richmond field office. He testified. It's all here in the public report. I refer you to it, pages 12, 13, 14. He testified he saw no problem with this. He said he thought it was fine. In fact, we have internal memoranda of the members of the field office high-fiving. One peer reviewer, another member of the field office, wrote, "I think this is a great product. I really enjoyed the read." Do you have a problem with systemic bigotry against Catholics in the FBI?
No.
What are you going to do about this? Are you going to fire these people or not?
Those individuals have all been admonished, and it is all going into their, if you would let me finish my answer, it is all going into their annual performance reviews, which has direct impact on their compensation, among other things.
Oh, I see. I see. So the 60 million American Catholics who now learn that your FBI has recommended that priests be recruited as informants, your FBI has gone to priests, choir directors, but we're to feel better because you've admonished them for their wrongdoing.
You, again, are conflating two different things.
Not. I am taking your testimony where you said you do not. You said categorically, you said we do not go to priests and ask them about their parishioners. You said we do not. You didn't say we haven't. You didn't say we won't. You said we don't. As it turns out, you do. And you kept it from the public. You deliberately misled Congress about it. And the only reason we know about it is because a whistleblower came forward.
I just fundamentally disagree with your characterization.
Well, there's no characterization. The facts are the facts. And I fundamentally resent the fact that you have violated, if not the spirit, if not the letter, certainly the spirit of the First Amendment, and use your law enforcement agency against Catholics in this nation.
Oh, but wait, there's demerits that go on their permanent record. Frank, Board of Trade. You're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yes, I've always suspected that the Attorney General wore skirts.
That's exactly right. Thanks for the call, Frank. Merrick Garland fits nicely into the skirts that Loretta Lynch left behind, doesn't he? More accountability. Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act that the Biden administration is pushing to have Congress renew. The stories about the abuses that came out earlier this year. Improper, dare I say, illegal queries by FBI agents into politicians, donors to a particular political party. Guess which one? Americans. Not supposed to be used for that. Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. Foreign nationals, not American citizens. And certainly not politicians or donors to the Republican Party because they're Republicans or donors to Republicans. And what does Chris Wray have to say about that? Here's Mike Lee going back and forth with Wray.
Now, in an April 2022 opinion, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court noted the following searches of Americans' communications. 19,000 donors to a particular congressional campaign, 133 Americans participating in civil unrest and protests in the summer of 2020, and Americans who were in the vicinity of the Capitol, not necessarily inside the Capitol, but in the vicinity of the Capitol on January 6, 2021. The DNI's semi-annual assessment of Section 702 disclosed illegal queries conducted in 2019 to 2020, quote, using only the name of a U.S. congressman. The FISA court disclosed two particularly egregious searches from 2022. In June of 2022, an analyst conducted 4 queries of 702 information using the last names of a U.S. senator and of a state senator without further limitation. On October 25, 2022, a staff's operations specialist ran a query using the Social Security number of a state judge who had, quote, complained to FBI about alleged civil rights violations perpetrated by a municipal chief of police, close quote. Were the FBI employees who conducted those illegal searches terminated, or did they have their security clearances stripped? Yes or no?
Again, I don't know that I can speak to specific instances, but what I can tell you, and I think this is important to this exchange, is that all of the instances you just listed off all involve conduct that occurred before the reforms that we put in place.
Before the reforms you put in place, reforms, the text of which we don't even have access to. Reforms that you've put in place. I've been on this committee for 13 years. During the entirety of those 13 years, I've expressed concerns to FBI directors appointed by presidents of both political parties and 3 different presidential administrations. Every darn one of them has told me the same thing. Don't worry about it. We've got this taken care of. We've got new procedures. It's going to be different now. It's never different. You haven't changed. And you keep referring to these policies, these new procedures. We haven't seen that. We're not even allowed to have access to it. And we have absolutely no reason to trust you because you haven't behaved in a manner that's trustworthy. You can't even, as we sit here, tell me that people who intentionally, knowingly, deliberately violated the civil rights of American citizens, that they were fired or that they had their security clearance stripped.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. I know the Section 702 stuff gets into the weeds a little bit, but it's pretty straightforward. Illegal searches, and they want this renewed. And it will hamstring our ability to keep America safe if it doesn't get renewed. I'd be a no. I think Mike Lee's going to be a no.
Yeah.
How do you reward even law enforcement with expanded powers or an extension of expanded powers when they behave like we've seen the FBI behave both under Comey and now Wray? Oh, and then something happens. Oh, well, that's because you didn't support renewing 702. No, it's because you behaved the way that you behaved, destroying the trust that Americans have in the FBI. And so we responded by doing something you won't do, which is hold bad actors accountable. There's more from Lee. I mean, this is like mission critical stuff. More from Lee and how Ray just blithely ignores the law, adherence to the law in his agency. We have these reforms. Anybody held accountable? I can't speak to that.
It's just bureaucratic nonsense.
It's worse than that. It's worse than that. It's an attack on the Republic. It's a fifth column action.
Now, in 2022, FBI and other agencies searched Americans' communications over 200,000 times, only 16 of which were evidence of a crime-only searches that returned information. I'd like to ask you to give a yes or a no answer to these questions. Were the three related batch queries consisting of over 23,000 separate queries relating to the events of January 6th, were those evidence of a crime-only queries, yes or no?
I don't know the answer to that.
The answer is no. I do know the answer. The answer is no. Were there 141 queries for the activists arrested in connection with the George Floyd protests here in Washington, D.C., evidence of a crime-only queries?
Those were non-compliant queries, and again, they all predate the reforms that we've put in place, which
echo other reforms that other FBI directors have told me about every darn year. How about the 19,000 donors to a political campaign? The answer there is no. What about the query for a sitting member of Congress? The answer there is no. What about the query involving a U.S. Senator, which for all we know could be any one of us? The answer is no. And so what does that tell me? Well, what I'm hearing and what these data points all point to is that a warrant requirement or prohibition relating to, quote-unquote, evidence of a crime-only queries would not have been something that would have prevented any of the most egregious examples of the abuse that we've seen under Section 702. So the FBI is already required to obtain a court order in some circumstances before accessing the contents of Americans' communications in the context of 702. They're already required for that in some circumstances. Since 2018, how many times has that requirement been triggered, according to government reporting? Do you know?
You're talking about the so-called F2?
Yes.
Yeah, how many times has it been triggered?
Yes.
I think there have been 2 instances where I think is maybe the number.
103 times it's been triggered. And out of those 103 identified times, the FBI should have obtained a court order. How many times did the FBI actually obtain one? Do you know?
That, I think the answer is none.
0. So you're telling me that the FBI has completely ignored the limited court order requirement that it's already subjected to. You have the audacity to come here, and you told us that adding a warrant requirement to 702, even for queries involving U.S. persons on U.S. soil, that would amount to some sort of unilateral disarmament. You have a lot of gall, sir. This is disgraceful. The Fourth Amendment requires more than that, and you know it. I know every single time for centuries, even prior to the founding of this country, there were similar protections built into the laws of the United Kingdom before we became a country. Even then, the government was making the same darn argument you're making today, which is it's too hard. This would make it hard for the government. It's why we have a Constitution, sir, and you must comply with it.
Mr. Chairman.
So the language that he uses, illegal searches, non-compliant searches. He has no idea how many times the warrant requirement was triggered. He guesses 103, off by a factor of 50, 51. That's pretty good for your director. And he knows that they were non-compliant. They never got the warrant that was required in those 103 circumstances. And you want us to renew that power? This is what is going on at the FBI, as far as I can tell, from what is publicly available, is a lot closer to an insurrection than anything that happened on January 6th, I'll tell you that. Mary Kay in Western Springs.
Hey, guys. Good morning. Good morning. I just want to say quickly, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law go to the Latin Mass over on the west side of Chicago. I'm not sure which parish it is. 10:30 every Sunday. Yeah, that sounds right. And are they being followed around, being targeted? Are they threats to frickin' society? Isn't that the most ridiculous thing that they're doing at the end in the Catholic, attacking the Catholic Church that way?
Thanks for the call, Mary Kay. I mean, what you heard on all of those topics is an FBI that is operating extra constitutionally, to be generous. That's a threat to the republic, as I said. Chris Wray and his operation of the FBI, that's a threat to the republic. Coming up at 6:06, the migrant base camp in Brighton Park gets nixed by Jelly Belly. 6:06.
Yeah, what's next? And residents celebrate, but I don't know if they're celebrating too soon. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
The state stops the building of the Brighton Park migrant camp, and the mayor reacts to the state stopping construction. A man falls to his death from a Streeterville parking garage, and 2 planes clip wings at O'Hare. Top 10 college hoops win for the Fighting Illini. WIND Chicago News Time is 6 o'clock.
It's not making Trump critics any less worried. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. What the former president told Sean Hannity at a Fox town hall in Iowa.
You are promising America tonight you would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Except for day one.
When the former president suggested if reelected, he would close the border and order more drilling with his energy policies.
On day 2, we'll get rid of this ridiculous electric car mandate.
And the Republican frontrunner who will skip tonight's GOP debate predicts President Biden won't even be the Democratic nominee.
We have a man that can't put 2 sentences together. We have a man that doesn't know he's alive.
Now, President Biden told a fundraiser in Boston if the former president wasn't running again, he might not be running for re-election, as he keeps warning another Trump term would endanger democracy. In the House Republican probe into Hunter Biden's overseas business dealings, there's a Fox News digital report that then Vice President Biden used alias email accounts, and 2 IRS whistleblowers allege there are hundreds of email messages to one of his son's business partners. The president has denied any involvement as House Republicans consider formalizing an impeachment inquiry.
The vote to launch the probe could come next week. Republicans say the Biden administration stonewalled requests for testimony, but Democrats believe this is all a distraction.
Fox's Chad Pergram. Israel keeps bombing Gaza.
Destruction in Gaza's second largest city of Han Yunis. Israeli forces are operating throughout that area as they continue to go after Hamas leadership. Now, as the war rages on, Israel is still gathering intelligence on the hostages still held inside Gaza. Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari says 138 people are currently being held by Hamas.
That's Fox's Trey Yingst in Israel near the Gaza border. 6 people are dead in a shooting spree in Texas. 4 in Austin, where 2 police officers were wounded. 2 others shot dead in the San Antonio area, all killed, police believe, by the same gunman who's in custody, stopped after a chase last night. America's listening to Fox News.
36 degrees, 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A woman critically hurt by a fire in the Lawndale neighborhood this morning. It also injured 2 Chicago police officers after a porch collapsed. Fire occurred around 1:15 a.m., according to Chicago Fire, in the 1200 block of South Kevdale. Police continue to investigate the scene along with firefighters who remain at the Kevdale location. State of Illinois putting a stop to the building of a tent camp for illegal migrants in Chicago's Brighton Park neighborhood. The decision comes after the Illinois EPA reviewed the city's environmental report that showed the site at 38th in California required cleanup of heavy metals and toxic chemicals. The IEPA cited concerns related to insufficient soil sampling because of the time required for additional testing. Governor Pritzker says the state says we will not proceed.
We don't pick the sites in a city, right? The city has sites that it has made available. This is the one that they had pointed to and wanted to make sure that we focused on. These are for asylum seekers.
Mayor Johnson added that the state knew that the environmental assessment was happening and felt confident enough to continue with the build.
The state of Illinois knew that this assessment was happening and felt confident enough to continue to build on this site and to go into a contract with Gardaworld. The state did not provide any additional guidelines or any sort of methodology in which they were requiring us to go by.
Johnson adding alternate locations are being explored. Cook County judge is overturning the murder conviction of a man found guilty primarily based on the testimony of an eyewitness who who was legally blind. Darian Harris has spent more than a decade in prison. A witness at his 2011 trial identified Harris as the gunman. However, that witness was declared legally blind by a doctor in 2002. Harris will remain in jail because prosecutors say they plan to try him again. No one hurt after two planes clipped wings at O'Hare. It happened last night as the aircraft were taxiing to gates. The planes operated by regional carriers who fly under the United Express name. Big college basketball win for the number 18 Fighting Illini, knocking off number 9 Florida Atlantic in the Jimmy V Classic at Madison Square Garden last night. And the Blackhawks pick up a point in a 4-3 shootout loss to Nashville. They host the Ducks tomorrow. The news, a service of the AM 560 store. T-shirts, hoodies, and more, including your favorite AM 560 brands, including Proft University. You need to go to 560theanswer.com/store. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
This radio station is always on, but sometimes you need more content that you can take with you anywhere. That's why we invented the SalemPodcastNetwork.com. You'll find all the great hosts on this radio station, plus a few more, like Charlie Kirk, Dinesh D'Souza, Trish Regan, Jenna Ellis, and Dennis and Julie. There's literally no end to what we can teach you. It's like radio on demand, and just like radio, it's always on. Go find out what you're missing. Download the app, SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson here, and if you're a small business owner or you make the marketing or advertising decisions for a business, then this message is for you.
Our annual Food for the Poor campaign is underway, and this year we're helping to raise money for children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean who are desperate for access to food.
Millions of people, including many children, are suffering during this season of economic decline, unemployment, and rising food prices.
Here's how you and your business can be part of the solution. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor. Just make a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor, and AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you.
It's the best deal in all of Chicago radio.
Just call Anjanette Natowski at 847-472-8951. Again, that's 847-472-8951, or go to 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
I'm Scott, the owner of Solid Fire Pits. When I began welding my custom-made fire pits for friends and family, I shared them on TikTok because I was just so proud of them. Check it out. That's beautiful. I posted every new fire pit design, and more people kept ordering, from 26 states and counting. Then on my birthday, I had my best sales ever. Now how can the universe beat that?
Solid Fire Pits is just one of the 5 million U.S. businesses that rely on TikTok every day. TikTok sparks business.
With the holidays upon us, the increase in traveling, shopping, and connecting online also heightens the need to protect your identity and finances with LifeLock. Identity thieves see this time of year as an opportunity to drain your accounts, open new loans in your name, and damage your financial future. LifeLock detects and alerts you to the threats you might miss on your own. Don't let the busy holiday season catch you off guard. Save up to 25% off your first year with promo code CLAY. LifeLock.com, promo code CLAY.
Imagine having all the money you need for retirement, all the income, every month, guaranteed. That's Secure Future Investor, an indexed annuity tied to growth in the stock market, but without any risk of loss ever. It's guaranteed money for life income, no matter how long you live. Call 888-509-2228. 888-509-2228. Sponsored by GP Agency, Inc., Raleigh, North Carolina. Licensed in all states. Performance may vary. Consult with your financial professional before making an investment decision.
Brace yourself for the ultimate holiday deal with Consumer Cellular. Snag an incredible 50% off the Iris Flip when you buy before December 17th, making it only $34.50. The Iris Flip is all the phone and camera you need with a user-friendly design, the perfect flip phone companion. Plus, you'll get nationwide coverage and always free activation. Score 50% off when you use promo code RADIO50. Head over to consumercellular.com and use promo code RADIO50 during checkout to score this deal.
It is 6:08. Let's get an update on the roads. We do that, of course, in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. We'll start on the Reagan, where we see an accident being cleared on I-88 westbound right at Route 47. Tri-State already stop and go northbound Roosevelt into the Ike. The Bishop Ford and I-57 jamming into the Ryan Merge. Typical morning heavy, and 19 into the Burns Circle interchange. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with our meteorologist, Steve Williams.
Today, times of clouds and sun are high today, 39. Cloudy tonight, low 34. And then sunny to partly cloudy for tomorrow, the high 52. Some sun and turning cloudy on Friday, the high at 57. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Currently, we have 36 degrees at O'Hare, 37 Midway, 33 in Aurora, 36 along Chicago's lakefront. Your next news update is at 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by IDT. Eliminate paper files with the IoT Smart Connected Scanning Device. Find them at ready4IDT.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Governor Spalding is making a point to BLM Brandon, isn't he, about who's in charge of the state of Illinois, and it's not you, BLM Brandon. That, I think, is the overriding point that he made when he had his IPEA put a halt to the construction of that migrant base camp in Brighton Park. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line.
And there's so many questions to be asked. Why did it go on for so long? I mean, Dan, 4 tents are up, including 2 ginormous ones, but then there's also electrical that's been in there, water, sewage. It's all been in place. Of course, the neighbors were so excited because they've been standing outside that construction site for months now, banging their drums and their pots and pans.
Like if I hit the lottery, it's not I only hit the lottery, my neighborhood hit the lottery. We won. The hard work paid off.
Good news today. Finally, we win the case.
Feeling like somebody's hearing us.
Yeah.
Is somebody hearing them, or do they really? I mean, do they? Because now that group is filing a lawsuit because they want to make sure that all the alleged contaminated soil is taken out of the area to keep them safe as residents.
Well, it's unclear to me. I mean, here's the thing that they might want to remember, as we've talked about, is that Jelly Belly is committed millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, really, ultimately, of dollars to underwriting the sanctuary state that is Illinois and the migrants that are arriving here.
Yeah, but he has also said several times he does not want tents up. He has said that in several news conferences. There's empty brick and mortar buildings that we could use, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, because he wants to hide it.
Exactly, because he wants to run for president.
Well,
312-642-5600. But here's the deal. So the city
paid a long run up to that.
True, but the city paid $50,000 to Terracon Consulting to conduct this environmental assessment. They came out with that 800-page report on Friday in the afternoon. You see what I'm saying? Pritzker was mad because reporters got it before his governor's office did.
Correct.
And mercury. So what they did to remediate the problem, they took 6 inches of soil where there was mercury near base camp sleeping tent 1. And they removed it, brought it to a safe site, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then they laid down gravel and said that was fine. The problem was taken care of. And it's not taken care of because now he comes in and says it's not working. But Brandon Johnson thinks, this isn't, no, wait, this isn't over yet.
Yeah, well, first of all, the mission is still very much alive. I've said from the very beginning, especially as winter is approaching and weather is shifting, is to get people out of police stations. Women, children sleeping on the floors, those who are sleeping outside, to remove people from police districts. So we've been doing that work. In fact, I believe the latest number that I have, there were almost 4,000 people in police districts.
He's got a problem, BLM Brandon. They all do. But BLM Brandon's problem is He's basically got to locate these migrant shelters, whether it's existing structure or new ones in Latino wards, because he's not going to get away with it. Increasingly, he's not going to get away with it in black and white wards. And I hate to talk about Chicago like that, but that's the reality of Chicago. And it's the reality of the identitarian politics that are being played right back at Brandon Johnson.
But he thought that he was in on this with the governor, that the IEPA was working with, this consulting group.
He said the state never questioned the testing methods until now.
There was no additional information that was provided that would have led us to believe that this particular report that has been validated to be safe by third parties, that somehow that operation will be halted.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, there's politics here. Obviously, if Pritzker wanted to, he could have essentially had the IEPA green light this. I mean, let's just be real about how this works. So this isn't about safety, but they're all confused. I mean, your buddy Vasquez then comes out after the halting of this construction and says, yeah, we better err on the side of caution and safety, and we don't want, to come back years from now and people would have gotten sick because we didn't do enough remediation of the property. Well, why are you saying that now? And you weren't saying that when the project was moving ahead. You're saying that now only because Pritzker stopped it. So Vasquez is trying to middle, seems to me, Pritzker and Brandon Johnson on this. It's all political posturing. This has nothing to do with any interest, any concern for the best interests of the migrants or certainly Chicago residents. We know that. But Pritzker, this is an opportunity for him to do a couple of things. One, as I sort of suggested, assert his dominance politically. That's what he wants to do. He also recognizes that, look, this is an easy opportunity to score political points against a city and a city hall under this mayor that is universally understood to be dysfunctional. And also to basically say, hey, look, when I ask for information, you give me information. You don't backdoor me by releasing it to the press and moving ahead without my assent. And the problem is, and this is why it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, is, the sense is that BLM Brandon and his top guy, Jason Lee, who comes to us from AFSCME by way of Harvard, that's really his top advisor. This guy hasn't gotten a lot of attention, but that's who it is. They're not listening to anybody. They're gonna do what they want to do, and they're certainly not going to take orders from JB. So there's a little bit of a power struggle going on, but it's all politics. It has nothing to do with
safety.
It has nothing to do with, on second thought, the Brighton Park residents are right. Or, hey, you know what? Why don't we just measure twice and cut once when it comes to this base camp to make sure it's really safe for the migrants? Those are not the conversations. That is not the dynamic. Don't think it's about concern for other human beings. It's about concern for the political power that the two parties have.
And we don't even know if they can get out of the lease that they signed. I mean, we're paying $92,000 a month for that land. It's about 10 acres. Can they get out of that? And there's so many other unanswered questions about how much money went into the Brighton Park location that does not to be it's not viable now. So what do you do with that? I mean, it's a humongous structure.
Well, first of all, the money doesn't matter to BLM Brandon or Jelly Belly. You understand this. The other people's money doesn't matter to them. That's number one. Number two, I'd be surprised, but maybe I shouldn't be, if the Corp Council, which, would negotiate the terms of the lease with the city for this property, if they didn't have a rider in there about clearing getting IEPA clearance to move forward with construction as a contingency in the lease. I'd be surprised, but perhaps, we don't know. Well, that's a public document, so somebody should be able to obtain that at some point. And then we also, it's expensive now and it's time consuming to have to do the necessary remediation to get IEPA clearance, but they could still move forward and do that if they wanted. And the reason I say that is because they got a couple hundred beds at that location in Little Village. They got 300 beds at the location at St. Bart's in Portage Park. They don't have enough sites right now. They don't have enough space unless they're going to do, sort of the L.A. put them in hotels with open rooms or some other, or put them where Grand Lux Cafe used to be or something like that. They don't have enough sites for the people coming in. And by the way, they're still coming in. They're going to come. I mean, New York, there was, New York Post reporting yesterday about more buses coming to New York with more migrants. Abbott's still going to send them up here. So this is going to get more complicated, not less.
And winter is approaching, and the tents that they removed outside of police stations, in certain ones, not all of them, I'm sure they're going to be popping back up. I mean, the place in Little Village that you're talking about, that's going to house only 200 people. That's not 2,000. And that place is going to be for women and children and kids with special needs.
Well, this is my point.
I know.
Tony Roselle, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning. Thanks for taking my call. I'm curious about the 6 inches of gravel. There's a park at 29th in Sacramento that was built on a site that was contaminated, and they added something like 6 feet of topsoil to cover the site. And it's above street. It's well above street level. And I'm thinking 6 inches of gravel, that doesn't sound remotely like an EPA-approved method of dealing with that.
Well, somebody that was cited in the study is Dr. Susan Buchanan. She's a UIC professor, and she talked about how it was removed and is it safe and the dangers of mercury.
The mercury that they found would put humans at risk, but they removed it from that site. The levels that they found in the soil, not in the air coming from the soil, those levels put people at risk only if they ingest the soil. So that putting the 6 inches of crushed rock on top should be fine on a temporary basis.
Well, I mean, it's not like they're city council members, so they probably won't eat the dirt. They're probably more sophisticated than the political leadership of the city. So I'm not too so concerned about that. Well, I mean,
but
if
there's kids there, and how kids.
Well, I'm not. Yeah, but you're also covering it. I'm not an environmental engineer. I don't know, but it's either. Well, I mean, like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if that putative expert is correct, and it's just straight power politics. That wouldn't surprise me either. If it's actually not, a site that's unsafe, it's just Pritzker making a point here.
He wants Chicago to look as good as possible for the DNC in August of next year.
Well, that's true.
And that's not a good look.
Joe in Naperville.
Yeah, congratulations to these leaders because they bamboozled us. They're glossing over the original sin. Where is it legal for them to be providing all this money for these migrants? Where in the Constitution does it say that they shall be able to give my money to these people? Where was the money appropriated for this? Where is all this? How come there's not lawsuits against aiding and abetting illegal aliens? I don't get this.
Thanks for the call, Joe. Man, it's funny. Did you just invoke the Constitution? What does that have to do with how things work in Chicago or Illinois?
I mean, this
the
is
Constitution.
A colossal waste
Where does the money
of
come from? The money comes from the General Assembly that conferred Pritzker all sorts of latitude to direct billions and billions of Illinois taxpayer dollars how he sees fit. What do you mean? I mean, let's not be naive. And who's going to file the lawsuit? What the activist citizenry in Illinois that's grounded in the black letter of the state and federal constitutions? Where do they live? Can you identify them for me? I mean, let's get real. This imaginary political opposition that people keep referencing. Glenn in Oak Brook.
Yeah, good morning. It seems to me that when a gas station owner encounters a leak in a storage container, that there's a lot of effort being done to remove the leaking tank and get rid of the contaminated soil. It seems to be more activity in that scenario than there is in the topsoil for the migrants and stuff. Has anyone ever looked into what's the difference when the gas storage container leaks?
Thanks for the call, Glenn. The other Glenn in Mount Greenwood. Hey, Glenn.
Glenn. Oh.
The other Glenn in Mount Greenwood is gone. Oh. I've got an idea. How about barges on the lake? And I don't just mean, the Spartan barges. I mean like a party barge.
Oh, a bar.
Like, why don't we just build like little party barges or islands, like Blarney's Island up on Chain of Lakes?
Oh, yeah, with the
Why don't we
bras
just do
hanging.
that?
Yeah, yeah, and then when it's closer to the DNC, they can push them further away. Like, oh, you guys are going on a tour of New Buffalo, Michigan.
Yeah, well, just
take them out to sea for a little bit, and then they have their dog and pony show, and then bring them back.
Just do the have them participate in the race to Mackinac and just leave them there.
Oh, I mean, this
advance
is
of the DNC.
just. And I drove by that spot. I mean, you can the engineering. It was beautifully made. 2 very large tents, and then one's on the side, and you can see all the electrical that's there and the heat. This is going to cost millions of dollars to take back down.
So what?
I don't know.
Come on, millions of dollars. Blah blah.
It's just
blah.
such a colossal waste of time and energy. It's so stupid. It's so Chicago.
By the way, is that Susan Buchanan? Is that Susan Buchanan from Oak Park?
I don't know.
Remember Susan Buchanan from Oak Park? She's some sort of half-assed doctor, as I recall. She's the city council member in Oak Park. This shrieking feminist lunatic who told people that they can't talk because they're white. I mean, she is too, but she can talk. But other trustees and the Arab American Oak Park Village president at the time. That's Susan Buchanan?
I do not know. I'm going to look.
Huh. That'd be fitting. And it would make sense that she would be there to be a mouthpiece for BLM Brandon. She's a big Black Lives Matter fan, too. Big defund the policer. Bob, Buffalo Grove.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Thanks for getting to me. You switched topics on me, but let me weigh in on this one. Did I hear correctly that there were no building permits filed for the building of the structure?
Yes.
How did the city get around that?
Because they are the city.
Thanks for the call, but yeah, they hired the right expediter for the 8th floor. George in Naperville.
Yeah, Dan, I think this is all going down because our governor is upset with Chicago's mayor because he didn't accept the results of the Civil War.
Yes, I think that's right. I don't think he's referring to white leftists like Pritzker, though. It's maybe, yeah, right. But right, there's I think it was the right-wing extremists that are upset that a black man is free, according to BLM Brandon. And he better dust off that rap because he's going to need some misdirection plays the way this thing is going. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
If you're interested in learning about reverse mortgages, call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Tom Selleck is a very handsome man and a good actor who is a spokesperson for a reverse mortgage company. The biggest difference between us, other than I'm not handsome and I can't act, is that I've actually originated reverse mortgages and I don't need a teleprompter to talk about the many benefits of this amazing loan. If you've outlived your assets, have become your parents' caretaker and can't afford to pay their expenses, or you're a financial planner who would like to learn how to unlock your client's home equity tax-free so they don't have to deplete their assets you manage, then you need to call Team Hochberg or visit 56david.com. Team Hochberg's helped thousands of radio listeners understand the benefits of reverse mortgages, but we can't help if you don't call 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. 855-563-2843 to unlock your home's equity or purchase a new home with a reverse mortgage. Lower.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 112461.
Oh, yeah. Yummy. Here's something for all you guys. Yummy. That haven't gotten your special someone a holiday gift yet. The Christmas Pajamagram has got your back with a deluxe gift set for her, and it's a one-and-done luxurious present. Listen up. Lean into the radio. The gift set includes this smooth seduction satin nightie and robe, plus a free satin eye mask, and it's all wrapped in an elegant satin keepsake bag. Woo! You heard that right. That's 4 gifts delivered right to your door, ready to go under the tree. Silky, sensuous, glides over the skin. Oof. Designed to make her feel amazing and drive you wild. Brrr. The Smooth Seduction Satin gift set is your ticket to a very nice winter season. So don't wait. Get it before it sells out. Go to pajamagram.com and get this Smooth Seduction Satin Nighty Robe, eye mask, and keepsake bag. That's the Smooth Seduction Satin gift set at pajamagram.com. Go to pajamagram.com right now, pajamagram.com, and tell them Dan and Amy sent you. Oh, yeah.
You can't live forever, but your legacy can. For over 185 years, families have trusted Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago, with 47 locations throughout Cook and Lake counties, to set their legacies in stone. A prepaid cemetery plan locks in today's prices and safeguards against rising inflation. Visit CatholicCemeteryChicago.org or call 708-236-5490 to schedule a free consultation today.
Tonight, the final GOP debate of the year is on News Nation, America's fastest-growing cable news network. SiriusXM's Megyn Kelly, News Nation's Elizabeth Vargas, and the Washington Free Beacon's Eliana Johnson moderate a live primetime event from the University of Alabama as the candidates make their case to America on the only network for all America. The News Nation Republican primary debate, live tonight, 8 Eastern. To find News Nation on your TV, go to joinnn.com.
If you're self-employed and purchase your own health insurance, I have some great news. From now until January 15th, the health insurance exchanges are open again. And even if you've never qualified for a health insurance subsidy before, you most likely will now. The American Rescue Plan expanded subsidy eligibility to millions of Americans who have never qualified before, even to those with high income levels. And this year, you can purchase a multi-state PPO policy, which includes access to Northwestern Medical Group, as well as other teaching hospitals around the nation. Employers who provide small group coverage also have new options, and so do seniors looking for Medicare supplement coverage. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Obamacare, then you need a local expert on your side. C. Stephen Tucker from HealthInsuranceMentors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 25-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than 10 years. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit HealthInsuranceMentors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551.
It happens every year. Winter. Delivering and receiving supplies and getting people where they need to go can be impossible. Keeping your business doors and gates working properly to keep out the extreme weather is a major concern. Your business can't afford a loss of income or productivity. Think ahead this winter and call Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. for your commercial door maintenance and security tune-up now. You can't always plan when your doors break down, and it always seems to come at the least convenient time. Industrial Door Company will ensure your doors, grills, gates, and dock equipment are working to specification and give you advice on how to increase the life of your doors. Go online to see a range of products and services at industrialdoor.com. Call anytime, 847-258-5620. Their team will be there before the extreme cold weather causes financial losses for your company and assist in your time of need. Since 1982, the Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. takes care of your doors so you can take care of business.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan, you were right. Susan Buchanan, Dr. Susan Buchanan is the same one that's the Oak Park Village Trustee Board President.
All right, perfect. Then we'll pull that instant classic from Susan Buchanan from a few years back, just so you can enjoy it. We'll get to that. But at 6:36, there was some other congressional testimony that was important yesterday too. Busy day on the Hill, and that was Riley Gaines testifying before a House committee on men playing girls' sports. She's also put a marker down. That's rather interesting. We'll get to that at 6:36.
I love boundaries. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
35 degrees, cloudy skies at 6:32, and fierce battles are being reported between Israel and Hamas in southern Gaza. Fox's Trey Yingst has more from Israel.
Israeli forces are ramping up their strikes across the Gaza Strip. They say they hit 250 targets over the past 24 hours. The Israelis are continuing to locate weapons storage facilities, explosives, and entrances to tunnels. We also know they're targeting launching sites responsible for a number of rocket barrages that took place targeting Israel's second largest city of Tel Aviv. Inside Gaza, the death toll does continue to rise. An Israeli strike against Deir al-Bala in central Gaza killed multiple Palestinians. We also know from the destruction in Gaza's second largest city of Han Yunis, Israeli forces are operating throughout that area as they continue to go after Hamas leadership.
Now, witnesses say Israeli warplanes are bombing targets and tanks are rolling in southern Gaza. A shooting spree in Texas leaves 6 dead and several more injured. Austin Police Chief Robin Henderson.
We strongly believe one suspect is responsible for all of the incidents.
That suspect is in custody and is now facing charges. At least 2 deaths are blamed on an atmospheric river dumping heavy rain on the Pacific Northwest. Up to 8.5 inches of rain has fallen so far. The U.S. says Russia has rejected what it called a significant proposal to free detained Americans Evan Gerskovich and Paul Whelan. The U.S. considers both men wrongfully detained. The opening bell rings this morning. Stocks closed mixed on Tuesday. Dow losing 80. The S&P fell 2 points. A woman this morning critically injured in a fire in the Lawndale neighborhood that also injured 2 Chicago police officers after a porch collapsed. It happened around 1:15 a.m. inside of a home in the 1200 block of South Kevdale. State of Illinois is putting a stop to the building of a tent camp for migrants in Chicago's Brighton Park neighborhood at 38th in California. The state saying required cleanup of heavy metals and toxic chemicals was not being done. Brighton Park residents have been protesting, and their attorney is Frank Avila.
It was incompetence. It was poor communication. It's poor planning. It's poor management. It's a waste of money.
Chicago seems to now be running out of options in terms of shelter space for the influx of non-citizen arrivals. Chicago police are investigating after a man fell to his death from a parking garage in Streeterville. They say no foul play is suspected. No one is hurt after 2 planes clipped wings at O'Hare. The planes were operated by regional carriers who fly under the United Express banner. An inmate at the McHenry County Adult Correction Facility was found dead in his cell Tuesday afternoon. McHenry County deputies say a 74-year-old man was found unresponsive in a single occupied booking cell at that facility. Rescue crews began performing life-saving when the discovery was made, but they were unsuccessful. Chicago sports, number 18 Fighting Illini knocked off number 9 Florida Atlantic last night at Madison Square Garden. Blackhawks pick up a point in a 4-3 shootout loss to Nashville. 6:36, we'll have a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Would you like to have your mortgage or rent paid for all of 2024? Yeah, that sounds like a Christmas miracle, doesn't it? Well, that's exactly what AM 560, The Answer, wants to do for you. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle to enter our Christmas Mortgage Miracle Contest. Enter once per day, every day, between now and December 20th, and you can have your rent or mortgage paid for all of next year. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle.
Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson here, and if you're a small business owner or you make the marketing or advertising decisions for a business, then this message is for you.
Our annual Food for the Poor campaign is underway, and this year we're helping to raise money for children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean who are desperate for access to food.
Millions of people, including many children, are suffering during this season of economic decline, unemployment, and rising food prices.
Here's how you and your business can be part of the solution. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor. Just make a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor, and AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you.
It's the best deal in all of Chicago radio.
Just call Anjanette Natowski at 847-472-8951. Again, that's 847-472-8951, or go to 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
Right now is a really good time to get your student loans under control. There are so many people that we talk to every day who tell us that they just feel so much anxiety and overwhelmed by their student loans. But once they pick up that phone and call us, and we're able to give them a plan and a strategy that may lower their payment by hundreds of dollars, sometimes thousands of dollars, and may actually get their loans forgiven. The point is just to give people some clarity and control over their situation so that they know that whatever the payment is, whatever the plan is, there actually is a plan, and that plan is going to save them the most amount of money. I'm Ray Kaplan, and I can help you get debt-free, stress-free. Give us a call at 312-294-8989 or visit us at financialrelief.com.
I've been taking Balance of Nature for several years, and I feel the energy level of 27. I endorse it, I believe in it, and I would recommend it.
My name is Barbara, and I'm a registered nurse, and I take Balance of Nature. I really love gardening. I love being outdoors, and I love watching things grow. Gardening is just kind of an extension of enjoying nature. You get the sunlight, you get the breeze, you listen to the birds. It's the whole thing. I believe in Balance of Nature, and I really love it.
Celebrate Christmas with us. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order plus a free fiber and spice supplement with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
The holiday season is right around the corner. Give the gift that's hard to wrap, but easy to give. Give them a Steel. Visit your local Steel dealer or go to steelusa.com/gift guide.
It is 6:40. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is a service of Indeed.com. Their all-in-one platform helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates all from one place, and Indeed's interview tool lets you schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from their website, Indeed.com/credit. I-80 accident left lane block westbound at Richards, and 8094 has an accident, 2 left lanes blocked. This is eastbound 8094 approaching Calumet Avenue. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Expect clouds for much of the day, a little break of sunshine in the afternoon. High 39, clouds breaking 34 overnight. More sun tomorrow and a mild high of 52. Currently 35. Your next news is at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by CharlesEquipment.com. Keeping you powered up, no matter what the conditions. CharlesEquipment.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Before we get to Riley Gaines before the House Committee, as we were talking about with respect to the migrant base camp construction in Brighton Park, and Amy brought us Susan Buchanan, Dr. Susan Buchanan, BLM Brandon's go-to gal to give the high sign to say it's environmentally safe, the Brighton Park location. Just this instant flashback, this classic. Susan Buchanan at a village board meeting telling her fellow honkies on the board and as I mentioned, the president at the time of the village, who was of Palestinian extraction, to shut up.
Yeah, I
don't want to hear what you have to say.
Oh my gosh.
No, I'm serious.
Susan,
Jim, why do you have an opinion on this?
Come on, Susan. Susan, this is... I won't say a word. That's why I like to...
You shouldn't have an opinion on that.
I met with constituents of color, and quite honestly, some of the feedback was that some of this wording was ridiculous.
You have been white from birth. Why are you arguing what is a system of oppression? You've never experienced one.
Okay.
So shut up. I can't. Just stop, Dan. Stop, Dino. You are not oppressed, and people in Oak Park are, and we are trying to recognize that as a community. This mayor and this board is obviously not willing to face history. We have a chance to make history. It is time for this community to face equity. Enough And you stop it. You are a white male. You
True.
stop it. You are a white male.
I'm not
Your
gonna
skin
stop.
is light enough. Stop it.
I got elected. I think if we reduce these conversations to nobody cares what you have to say because you're a white male, I don't think we're doing this right.
You stop it.
You
stop it.
Stop now. You are a white male.
I love the Khrushchevian pounding of the lectern with her heel, or Birkenstock, whatever she was wearing. Anyway, that's Susan Buchanan.
Well, maybe she's with BLM's Johnsonville tents because she doesn't want them in Oak Park.
Yeah,
Deep down inside, like we have to put them somewhere, and we don't want them over here.
She's right. She's busy dealing with all of those oppressed residents of Oak Park, trying to lift them up. There's only so much that one Susan Buchanan can do.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
well, and
just-
also, too,
just a
we're
little fun.
we're learning this morning that Governor Pritzker is working with the Archdiocese of Chicago to find more brick and mortar vacant spots to house migrants.
Yeah, put them in Holy Name. Why not, Cardinal Supich? And definitely you want to be constructive there after he just ended the Tech Trust Scholarship Program that will result in probably 10 to 15 arch schools closing. But yeah, okay. Cardinal Supich at the ready. Brilliant. All right, let's move on. Riley Gaines talking trans sports before a House committee. And by the way, before even that testimony, she was making some news. This after two cyclists, two dudes, were first and second in the Illinois State Cyclocross Championships over the weekend. There was a...
Do you picture these dudes?
Yeah. There was a woman who finished third, but two dudes finished 1-2. And Riley Gaines offered this on Twitter. Any woman who doesn't compete and loses out on prize money, I will happily pay the fee out of my own pocket in any sport. Stop playing their game. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Yeah, I agree with her. I agree with her. Let those two dudes in those cyclocross events, let them compete against one another. It'll end cyclocross.
Well, we knew this was coming. I mean, 10 years ago, I talked to some Canadian coach cyclist who said, well, we're going to have a problem. I said, what's going on? He said, we can't compete against transgenders. I have to hire and put on my team transgenders in order to compete because that's the new thing in cycling. And everyone says, like those squishy Republicans are like, well, let's have a third category. We'll have male, we'll have female.
But you used to say that.
I know, I did because I was squishy, and I'm not squishy anymore. I'm setting a marker down.
I'm glad you're not squishy anymore. All right, well, then throw some money into the pot with Riley Gaines and give prize money to women to not compete against men and to try to restore some sanity to sport, at least the sport world. There's more sanity that needs to be restored, but that's a start. Riley Gaines and Summer Lee, who is a Dem socialist from Pennsylvania, had this little back and forth after Gaines' testimony at this before this congressional subcommittee.
Such as teamwork and goal setting. In terms of mental health, studies show that
Summer Lee.
participating in youth sports is associated with lower rates of anxiety and depression, lower amounts of stress, higher self-esteem and confidence.
Women must stop. Inclusion cannot be prioritized over safety and fairness. And Ranking Member Lee, if my testimony makes me transphobic, then I believe your opening monologue makes you a misogynist. Thank you.
Zing. I like Riley Gaines. She's feisty.
Madam Chair, excuse me, I move to have the gentlewoman's words taken down.
Oh, please.
Yeah.
The committee will suspend.
And it went back and forth.
Madam Chair, she's engaging in personalities.
As if you have one.
Can I just ask how it's fair to be called transphobic?
There's a
thing.
I would say men disguising themselves as women are engaging in personalities.
Order.
Hang on. Order. Let's get a ruling.
And the ruling?
Okay, I move to withdraw the point of order.
All right, misogynist stands. Good for Riley Gaines. But it didn't end there. The silliness didn't end there because AOC is on this subcommittee. Oh, no. The front girl for the Socialist Spice Girls.
Oh, no.
And she knows what's really going on here.
Okay.
What's really going on here? You want the straight dope from AOC? What's really afoot here with people like Riley Gaines? Oh, yeah. She's got it. She got Riley Gaines dead to rights.
There's so many resources and energy and time dedicated to figuring out how we can more finely exclude them from our sports. And I thought, why so much effort and dedication on such a tiny portion of the U.S. population when there virtually is no major issue that is precipitating? And I started to realize that a lot of these proposals here involve invasion of privacy of all women.
You picking up what she's laying down? This is men wanting to see everybody's naughty parts.
And so we're seeing here, in this guise, under the guise of not only trying to further marginalize trans women and girls, we are talking about opening up all women and girls to genital examinations when they are underage.
That's right.
Potentially just because someone can point to someone and say, I don't think you're a girl.
That's correct.
And we're saying this in an environment of a post-Dobbs America where states are criminalizing access to abortion and want nothing more than data on women to figure out who's getting a menstrual cycle, who doesn't have one.
Oh my God,
and we're supposed to believe that this is going to make us better and safer? I think not. And per usual, I don't believe we're sitting here in a panel of men that has actually thought about the biology and privacy consequences of all women, trans or cisgender here.
Is she high? Is she on something? I mean, can I get a time out here? Yeah, can you all lift up your skirt, please? We just want to check about your naughty bits.
This is all about men wanting to get information about a minor girl's menstrual cycles to create some sort of database to prevent them from getting an abortion. You follow?
Wow, that is quite the stretch, Dan.
Oh, man. This is their best new argument. And I love the other. I mean, it's really remarkable. By the way, it's not a panel of men. The chairperson of the committee is a Republican, a woman. You have Riley Gaines and a panel of women, a woman from the Heritage Foundation, a woman from the Women's Law Center that was Me Tooing AOC as she was going off and chasing this black helicopter that she released. So that doesn't make any sense either. But something else that she said too. It's just such. We're trying to marginalize an already marginalized subset of the population that's so small. Well, here's another example of a small percentage of a big number can become a big challenge. We talked about that with Islamic terrorists, and I'm not comparing the two. I'm just saying use this as a model, right? Yes, most Muslims the world over are peaceful, pluralist, and nonviolent individuals, but a small percentage are not. And a small percentage of 1.5 billion people can be a big problem. We talked about that throughout the course of the 21st century with the efforts to combat Islamofascism. Well, with respect to men playing women's sports, for example, in this case, we brought you the story the other day about the report card in Oregon that finds a 57% increase among the student population in the state of Oregon in those identifying as gender fluid. Well, a 57% increase gives you 3,000 Oregonian kids that are gender fluid, and some subset of that could be boys that are going to play girls' sports. So that's a small percentage of the overall student population in Oregon. But when you start talking about potentially dozens and hundreds of boys playing girls' sports, then you have a bit of a problem. Not just with injuries, but with unfairness and all of the other associated issues here. So to say it's a small percentage of the population, so this is a waste of time, is misleading. And the rest of, obviously, what AOS has said is just unmitigated lunacy. But, okay, that's where it's at. Oh, and by the way, to the Heritage Foundation analyst that was there with Riley Gaines, essentially sharing the same position as Riley Gaines and making the case. She was a collegiate athlete. She's the mom of a collegiate athlete, making the same case that Riley Gaines was making. Here's another member of this august subcommittee, Jasmine Crockett from Texas, saying this about the Heritage Foundation. No need to address the merits of what this woman is saying when you can just smear the organization.
In fact, Ms. Perry, I know your organization, the Heritage Foundation, loves Texas. Ooh, they love Texas. They always sending us some nonsense bills that somehow set this country on the wrong trajectory. They send them to Texas. They send them to Florida. Every deplorable state that we can think about, they usually coming out of y'all's think tank.
Every deplorable state?
So Texas is a deplorable state. She's a congresswoman from Texas. Okay. Well, I don't know if she can wrestle with her constituents about that. Good stuff. Good stuff from those rank-and-file socialist Spice Girls. Ed in Oak Brook, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, you know what amazes me? Why are Republicans even getting involved with this? This is such a stupid issue. And the fact of the matter is, we're not winning this argument. Who's offended by this or affected by this? It's women. So, and who's voting Democrat? Women. Let them fight it out themselves. You can't win this argument. You saw AOC, unbelievably, she's a congresswoman, saying, white males. Well, that's what the humanoids in the Democratic Party, and they all are the humanoids, they hear that and they automatically hate white males, just like that lady in Oak Park hates white males. So stay out of it. Let the Democratic women, if they feel so offended by this, let them fight it out. And in fact, another thing, you're actually hurting white males because, you know what, if I had any decent skills in golf, I would join the Ladies Golf Association and pick up all of that change because any guy could beat a girl in golf.
Right.
So,
yeah. Right.
No,
okay.
no. Easy there now.
And
right.
on the professional level, I bet any guy, professional male golfer, can beat the top women golfer.
Right. Annika Sorsen, remember,
Thanks
she
for the
tried
call,
that, and we don't tee off on the same boxes that you do, if you know what I mean.
Of course, I completely disagree with that. I've made that clear, and it's a silly argument that Ed makes because, first of all, the only cohort of women that are majority Democrat are single women. Married women are majority Republican, and married women are likely to have children.
Yeah, but
and we also have the responsibility as a father to protect your daughters. And we've seen, again, the injuries that have occurred because of the absence of that.
Right.
So, no, this is a little bit more than just let the ladies fight this out. This is everybody's deal because it's about the sort of society we live in, not to mention suborning the lie that a man pretending to be a woman or a boy pretending to be a girl is a girl.
And those two transgenders who took, gold and silver at that cycling championship in Illinois last weekend, they took 2 spots away from women. Where are the feminists from the 60s and the 70s? That were projecting that wanted, equal opportunities for women.
Well, interestingly, so those are the TERFs, the trans exclusionary feminists, the trans exclusionary radical feminists. A lot of those second wave feminists are opposed to this, which is interesting. Interesting coalition. And of course, South Park nicely captured what's going on here, too. This is the Randy Macho Man Savage character deciding that he's a woman and wants to compete. But first, of course, you have to deal with the mindless automatons, the women who are complicit in their own exclusion from sport.
Champion of the Strong Woman competition, Strong Woman. Miss Woman, do you feel ready?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready, David. There are just so many amazing women athletes out here today. It makes me so proud.
Now, this is the first year that a trans woman is in the competition. How do you feel about that?
Amazing. I feel honored to be a part of history. I have a lot of incredible trans friends who are athletes, and so we're all inspired this woman's competing.
Uh-huh. And have you actually ever met Heather Swanson?
No, I've never competed against her before, no.
She's not exactly your average trans athlete.
Well, what is an average trans athlete? Honestly, I find that kind of bigoted, David.
Okay. Heather Swanson is actually joining us now. Miss Swanson, how does it feel to be competing today?
I can't tell you how free I feel now that I've started identifying as a woman. Now that I can compete as female, I'm ready to smash the other girls.
And is it correct you just started identifying as female 2 weeks ago?
I'm not here to talk about my transition. I'm here to kick some f***ing ass. Let me tell you something, Dingleberry.
David Perry.
I'm gonna roll up the other women here, and I'm gonna smoke them. I am the strongest woman this state has ever seen.
Any words for the challenger, Miss Woman?
Good luck, Heather.
Luck is for dudes.
Well, with that, let's get right to the action.
Yeah. Coming up at 7:07. You gotta love South Park. Coming up at 7:07, we'll turn to the eco-supremacists over in Dubai and discuss the lies they're spewing with Bjorn Lomborg, 7:07.
But now let's head into that newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
A conviction overturned for a man found guilty based on testimony of a legally blind witness. WIND Chicago News Time is 7 o'clock.
Former President Trump goes prime time in Iowa. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
We're up, I guess, by like 30 or 40 points, but we're not taking any chances.
So the Republican frontrunner running to get his job back will skip tonight's GOP debate again. After a Trump town hall on Fox at Fox's Tanya J. Powers reports raised eyebrows when he was asked
to categorically say he would not retaliate against his political opponents if he wins re-election next year.
You are promising America tonight you would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Except for day one.
Sean Hannity asked again for clarification.
We're closing the border, and we're drilling. After that, I'm not a dictator, okay?
President Biden also raised eyebrows at a fundraiser in Boston.
If Trump wasn't running, I'm not sure I'd be running, but we cannot let him win. Biden has repeatedly warned that democracy is at stake if Trump secures a second term.
That's Fox's Jackie Heinrich. House Republicans could vote next week to formalize an impeachment inquiry. As Fox News Digital reports, 2 IRS whistleblowers claim then Vice President Biden used email alias accounts exchanging messages with one of his son's business partners. Now, the president's denied any role in Hunter Biden's business dealings. A man in Texas facing capital murder charges after a shooting spree that left 6 people dead, 2 in a home in Austin. Then a cyclist was shot and wounded.
Right before they engaged with police who were responding to a burglary in progress at a home in Austin. One officer was shot at the scene before the suspect sent authorities on a high-speed chase.
On Fox's Brooke Simon reports he was stopped and arrested. 2 more victims found in Austin, 2 more shot dead in San Antonio, 2 police officers injured. Israel keeps bombarding southern Gaza, going after Hamas.
Fuel and medical supplies are at critically low levels, say aid groups, and hospitals overflowing with wounded civilians. Israel's push into southern Gaza means 600,000 people are being told to evacuate.
That's Fox's Jonathan Savage. America's listening to Fox News.
35 degrees in Chicago, 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A woman critically hurt by a fire in the Lawndale neighborhood that also injured 2 Chicago police officers after a porch collapsed this morning. Fire broke out around 1:15 a.m. in the 1200 block of South Kevdale. State of Illinois putting a stop to the building of a tent camp for illegal migrants in Chicago's Brighton Park neighborhood. The decision comes after the Illinois EPA reviewed the city's environmental report showing the site at 38th in California required cleanup of heavy metals and toxic chemicals. The IEPA cited concerns related to insufficient soil sampling, according to the governor.
We don't pick the sites in a city, right? The city has sites that it has made available. This is the one that they had pointed to and wanted to make sure that we focused on. These are for asylum seekers.
Mayor Brandon Johnson says he'll continue to move asylum seekers out of police stations. He also added the state knew that the environmental assessment was happening, but felt confident enough to move ahead.
The state of Illinois knew that this assessment was happening and felt confident enough to continue to build on this site and to go into a contract with Gardaworld. The state did not provide any additional guidelines or any sort of methodology in which they were requiring us to go by.
Cook County judge is overturning the murder conviction of a man found guilty primarily based on the testimony of an eyewitness who was legally blind. Darian Harris has spent more than a decade in prison, convicted in a deadly shooting at a Southside gas station in 2011. The witness was declared legally blind by a doctor in 2002. Harris will remain jailed because prosecutors say they plan to try him again. No one hurt after two planes clipped wings at O'Hare last night. The aircraft were taxiing to gates. The planes operated by regional carriers flying under the United Express name. Chicago sports, Fighting Illini knock off number 9 Florida Atlantic at the Jimmy V Classic in New York. Marcus Domask and Terrence Shannon Jr. both with 33 points. Blackhawks pick up a point in a 4-3 shootout loss to Nashville. White Sox apparently have signed the best player in the Korean Baseball League, Eric Fetty, signing a 2-year deal worth $15 million. He did go 20-6 last year with a 2.0 ERA and 209 strikeouts. The News is a service of PKF Mueller's CPA professionals, business and financial advisors. Visit online today, pkfmueller.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Would you like to have your mortgage or rent paid for all of 2024? Yeah, that sounds like a Christmas miracle, doesn't it? Well, that's exactly what AM 560, The Answer, wants to do for you. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle to enter our Christmas Mortgage Miracle Contest. Enter once per day, every day, between now and December 20th, and you can have your rent or mortgage paid for all of next year. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle.
When you're serious about your concealed carry training and education and are ready to learn from an active police officer with a teaching degree, check out Illinois Concealed Carry Training in Midlothian. You'll learn safe, responsible firearm use, home defense planning, conflict avoidance, situational awareness, and how to remain physically, morally, and financially safe in the event you must use your firearm in self-defense or the defense of another. Weekday and weekend classes available.
I'm Sergeant Gary Carr, police firearms trainer and the owner of Illinois Concealed Carry Training. We'll arm you with what really counts: knowledge and training. All concealed carry curriculums are not created equal. This may be the single most important decision you'll ever make for yourself and your loved ones. Choose between 3 and 16-hour classes that are available both weekdays and weekends. We are your one-stop for concealed carry classes, fingerprints, and legal defense plans.
Register for a class today and get 10% off class fees with promo code AM560. Visit IllinoisConcealedCarry.com. That's IllinoisConcealedCarry.com.
I'm Scott, the owner of Solid Fire Pits. When I began welding my custom-made fire pits for friends and family, I shared them on TikTok because I was just so proud of them.
Check it out.
That's beautiful. I posted every new fire pit design and more people kept ordering, from 26 states and counting. Then on my birthday, I had my best sales ever. Now how can the universe beat that?
Solid Fire Pits is just one of the 5 million U.S. businesses that rely on TikTok every day. TikTok sparks business.
With the holidays upon us, the increase in traveling, shopping, and connecting online also heightens the need to protect your identity and finances with LifeLock. Identity thieves see this time of year as an opportunity to drain your accounts, open new loans in your name, and damage your financial future. LifeLock detects and alerts you to the threats you might miss on your own. Don't let the busy holiday season catch you off guard. Save up to 25% off your first year with promo code CLAY. LifeLock.com, promo code CLAY.
The holidays. Back again. Visiting with family and friends this time of year can bring great joy and happiness. But it also can unfortunately bring stress, hypertension, and overeating, all of which can make your blood pressure skyrocket. High blood pressure is one of the world's leading risk factors for death and disability, and often leads to stroke, heart attack, and kidney damage. That's why Chicago's very own Ira Antelis developed 120 Life, a juice drink and powder that lowers your blood pressure naturally. I'm drinking it, I love it, and it works like a charm for me. And for those with diabetes, the powdered form of 120 Life has just 1 gram of sugar. If you suffer from high blood pressure around the holidays or whenever, give 120 Life a try. It's a fantastic alternative to pharmaceutical drugs. Order today at 120life.com. That's 120life.com. Use coupon code LIBERTY at checkout. Save 15%. From all of us at 560 AM, my friends at 120 Life, have a wonderful holiday season, and please don't overeat.
7:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Health Insurance Mentors. Call Stephen Tucker today for free Medicare advice. Visit healthinsurancementors.com or call 630-674-1551. Edens, 34 minutes, Lake Cook Road to the junction. Kennedy right now is at an hour and 16 minutes from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike at 44 minutes and climbing into the old post office. Outbound Ike accident reported right at Manheim Road. Stevenson slowing up from the Tri-State 37 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. And things are slow on I-57, jamming right now into the Bishop Ford. At 7:09, it's time to call Permaseal, 800-421-7325. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Intervals of clouds and some sun today. The high today at 39. Cloudy skies for tonight, low 34. Sunny to partly cloudy. It'll be milder tomorrow. The high at 52. Some sun then turning cloudy on Friday. The high at 57. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Cloudy and 35 at O'Hare. Your next news update, 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Alpha Wealth Group, bringing the trilogy of estate, tax, and investment planning together. Visit alphawealthgroup.com for a free report.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So over the first few days of the COP28 conference in Dubai, that's focused on eco-supremacy, we've had both Secretaries of State Kankles and Longface as the featured representatives of our fair country. John Kerry reissuing his fatwa against fossil fuels.
To mention that there's only one simple reason we are in the predicament we are in. No rocket science needed, no new algorithm, no mathematician genius. This is happening because we burn fossil fuel unabatedly in the world. And that's what's doing this.
It's a sort of a weak golf applause there for that definitive statement against fossil fuels, where the source of 80% of America's electricity. But anyway, and then you had Kankles following up, spewing lies about climate-related deaths from hot versus cold. Well, she only talked about hot. She didn't talk about cold. Golly, I wonder why.
We're seeing and beginning to pay attention and to count and record the deaths that are related to climate, and by far the biggest killer is extreme heat. I mean, even in Europe last summer, which has the ability to count and figure out what happened, they recorded 61,000 deaths because of the heat in Europe. We don't have that kind of number yet from Africa, Asia, Latin America, but we know and estimate that we probably could measure about 500,000 deaths. And the majority of those are women and girls, and particularly pregnant women.
And this was all leading up to the godfather of eschatological, apocalyptic, climate folderol.
He's back?
Al Gore.
Oh.
A little hat tip to Rush there. Al Gore going off on this bizarre rant about social media. One of the things that you have to do, you see, in order to protect the bloviations of a John Kerry and a Hillary Clinton is shut down opposing viewpoints. We know this. The censorship industrial complex has a role to play here.
If you have social media that is dominated by algorithms that pull people down these rabbit holes that are a bit like pitcher plants, these algorithms, they are the digital equivalent of AR-15s. They ought to be
Oh, my.
banned. They really ought to be banned. It's an abuse of the public forum. But when people are pulled down these rabbit holes, you know what's at the bottom of the rabbit hole? That's where the echo chamber is. And if you spend too much time in the echo chamber, what's weaponized is another form of AI, not artificial intelligence, artificial insanity. I'm serious. I'm serious.
Please clap.
QAnon is just the best known version of artificial insanity. And these devices are the enemies of self-government, and they're the enemies of democracy. We need reforms for both democracy and capitalism. Both sets of reforms are possible.
Exactly. We need to eliminate the First Amendment just like the Second. And, then we can get on with it. For a response to what is being emitted from Dubai at this conference, pleased to be joined by Bjorn Lomborg, president of the Copenhagen Consensus think tank, author of Best Things First. Bjorn, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Hey, Dan and Amy, it's great to be here.
Well, it's a jump ball. You respond to whichever American luminary you'd like.
Well, they're certainly giving us a very one-sided perspective. So, look, global warming, as you also know, is a problem. But you really got to put it in context. As you mentioned, Hillary Clinton estimated there's 500,000 heat deaths. And she's probably right. What she forgot to tell you is that every year there's about 4.5 million cold deaths. You're not well informed if you only say, oh my God, there are more heat deaths, and forget to say, but because of global warming, there's also fewer cold deaths. You actually need to tell both things. And of course, that goes to the whole Al Gore point. You're probably not well informed if you only hear the talking points that have been anointed by the climate crowd. And this really does get back to, John Kerry's point of saying, oh, it's fossil fuels that are causing this. Yes, global warming is caused by fossil fuels emitting CO2. But remember, we don't burn fossil fuels to annoy Al Gore. We burn it because it fundamentally supports everything we like about civilization. And so it's a little bit like making this very naive comparison and saying, you know what, there's an obesity crisis. The cause is food, so we should eradicate food. No, that's not how you do logic. What you need to do is to find a technology that doesn't emit CO2 but still provides you with lots of cheap and useful energy. That's how you fix climate change, but not just by banning fossil fuels. You're actually going to end up making us all much, much poorer.
Well, is there something out there that can do that?
Not right now, because if there was something that was cheaper, remember, everybody tells you solar and wind is cheaper, but that's only when the wind is blowing and the sun is shining. But most people, unreasonably, I know, actually want power 24/7. And there it is mostly, there are a few places, but mostly not competitive. If there was a competitive alternative, we'd all have switched. China would have switched to this new thing. But we should be researching those new technologies. So obviously, switching from coal to gas, because gas emits a lot less CO2, that's a smart idea. We should get everybody fracking, not just the US. And we should be investing a lot more in getting, for instance, fourth generation nuclear power going. It may be one of the solutions. Imagine if, these new small modular reactors, they're incredibly safe. If they're also incredibly cheap, everyone would buy them. But again, this is a question about making sure that the future becomes so cheap for green energy that not just rich, well-meaning Americans will buy a little bit of it to show off, but China, India, and Africa will do so as well.
Well, I had this conversation with Judith Curry, the former head of atmospheric sciences at Georgia Tech, my counterculture podcast, which you can check out at amgreatness.com. Anyway, one of the things that she pointed out, too, and I think we've discussed this, but, there's so much we don't know, too. It turns out that understanding the dynamics of what causes temperature increases or temperature decreases is complicated because the climate is a complicated thing to study. And it's sort of been borne out by all of the predictions of the models that Al Gore relied on 3 decades ago. that have not proven up. I mean, he was predicting end times well before AOC was doing it. And so part of this, though, too, is we have to have some humility about what we don't know in addition to what we think we know and continue the investigation. We don't really know, do we? The absolute impact, on a percentage basis, on a distributive basis of use of fossil fuels, of man, if you will, in terms of climate change, as opposed to the vagaries of the powerful forces that comprise our climate, the chemistry and the physics associated with climate.
So Dan, Judith Curry is a great woman, and I love what she's doing. I'm totally going to defer to her because she's a scientist. She's a natural scientist. I'm just a lowly social scientist. So what I try to point out is that even if you get all of this stuff right on the climate models, and I think she's very right in saying there's a lot more uncertainty than we normally talk about, but even if we got all of this right, we got to realize that mankind is incredibly adaptable. When sea levels rise, that's going to be a problem, yes, but it's not like it's going to drown hundreds of millions of people because we actually know how to deal with rising sea levels. Holland is a great example of that. And for very little resources, over 100 years, we will mostly protect almost everywhere on the planet. We already know this from social science models. So what we got to realize is currently, the COP28, as you're talking about, this gabfest on climate, is telling us we need to go net zero by 2050. What they're not telling us is that the impacts are probably going to be a lot smaller than what you're normally told because we'll actually adapt. But what they are totally not telling you is the costs are going to be phenomenal. So there are actually 2 new papers out that shows how much will going net zero by 2050 cost the world? And the short answer is it will cost $27 trillion each and every year this century. That's just a phenomenal amount of money. Remember, the total global GDP today is about $100 billion. Now, we'll be richer throughout the century, so it'll be a little less, but it will be an inordinate amount of money that we're being asked to offer up to fix a much smaller problem. That's just a bad deal.
Well, and the other part of this, too, which is sort of glossed over, so much of it is, you don't have buy-in from OPEC. You don't have buy-in from Russia. You don't have buy-in from China and India, as you mentioned. So if you're talking about saving the planet, then you're going to have to include these other actors.
Yes. And Dan, you're spot on, because fundamentally the problem here is you can probably convince most of Europe, some of America, some of the other rich countries in the world. But remember, if every country in the rich world went net zero today and stayed net zero for the rest of the century, which of course would be phenomenally expensive and basically stop modern life as we know it, even if that happened, we would reduce temperatures by the end of the century by less than 1 degree Fahrenheit. Yes, it would have some impact, but only a small impact, because the majority of the emissions are going to come from China, India, and Africa. And as you mentioned, also Russia and the other OPEC people, and some from Latin America. But the fundamental point is this is only going to work if we get everybody else on board. And we're only going to do that if we have the innovations that Amy and I talked about earlier. If we come up with cheap green energy for the future, everyone will switch. If it's still going to be as expensive, Democrats and some European countries are going to try and do it, and it'll have no impact, but it will be very costly.
So in the 1960s, they told us that oil would be gone in 10 years. In the 80s, remember, acid rain is going to destroy all the crops in 10 years. And I loved it in the 90s when they asked us not to use hairspray because the ozone layer is going to be gone in 10 years. Remember that one? So what's the next thing? What's the big scare?
Well, the next thing, obviously, is climate. And again, it's important to say all of these issues were, to a certain extent, problems. So acid rain did affect some very vulnerable lakes, especially in Norway and up in New England, those kinds of places. The ozone layer was a problem, but it was by no means the end of the world as being portrayed. And the solution, of course, especially for the ozone layer, was not to make everyone feel ashamed and stop using spray cans. It was to find replacements for these ozone depleting substances. And DuPont came up with that. And suddenly it only cost a couple $100 billion to fix. And we did that over a couple of decades. Again, you fix a problem when it's cheap to fix, or even better, if it's advantageous. You don't fix a problem if you're asking people basically to be poorer, colder, less convenient, eat less, drive less, all these stuff. That's not going to work. You're not going to win elections doing that.
That was a huge development, going from the aerosol can to the pump spray. I mean, John Kerry alone saved the planet with that transition, right? So we've gone. So it was the combustion engine that was a greater threat to the world, the nuclear holocaust. That's what Al Gore said 2.5 decades ago.
And it's just not.
Well, right. Well, apparently, and now it's your washing machine.
Yes. Well, it's everything, right? You have to stop eating meat. You have to stop driving. You have to stop flying. And you have to stop doing all these things. And again, there's 2 points to this. First, it's just not going to go down well with most voters in the long run, both because they don't want the cost, they don't want the inconvenience, but also it's not how you convince everyone else. You're just not going to convince Africans and Indians and Chinese that are coming out of poverty and actually, and understandably so, want a better life. They're not going to say, okay, I'm going to give that up. I'm going to get used to poverty instead. They will want to get out of poverty. We should support them, but we should also invest in the R&D so that eventually we get these green technologies that'll sustain us in the long run. I mean, we should fix climate change in the long run, but we should fix it smartly, and we're not doing that. And we're certainly not doing it when we're scaring everyone witless.
Yeah, save the planet from the people seems to be the value proposition out of COP28. Bjorn Lomborg, president of the Copenhagen Consensus think tank, author of Best Things First. Bjorn, thank you as always.
Dan and Amy, great to talk.
Thanks. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
And this is Brian Duncan, co-founder of Signature Bank. We wish you the very best this holiday season from Signature Bank, Chicago's business bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality this holiday season. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. They're a bank with roots right here in Chicago, and their decisions are made locally too. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Mick O'Rourke, President and CEO of Signature Bank. We'd like to wish you happy holidays from our Signature Bank family to your family.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality this holiday season. Visit signaturebank.bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
All right, 'tis the season for giving, and we here at AM 560 have partnered up once again with Food for the Poor. And I know we talk about kids that are in need and starvation and how real it is. And if you want to see how Food for the Poor has helped people in need, please go to my Twitter account at Amy Jacobson, Jacobson, and you could see for yourself when we talk about kids from an orphanage. We were there in 2017, and they dropped off this 2-year-old boy, and he fell asleep on Snoopy sheets. And what gave him comfort were these stray kittens that were around. And his mom dropped him off because she had no money and she had no food. And she said, if I can save my son's life by dropping him off here. And Food for the Poor helps. They help kids in orphanages. They help people around the world in Latin America and the Caribbean who just wake up every morning and wonder, where am I going to get my next meal? How am I going to feed my children? What we're asking for is a one-time donation of $80. With that, you could feed 2 children for an entire year. Whatever amount you give will be much appreciated, but also if you give $320, you can feed 8 children for 1 year. That's the impact your gift can have. So to make a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673. Or visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor. That's 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor. But Dan, there's other ways to give.
Well, of course, our business benefactor program, which we've done each year, we partner with Food for the Poor. We really need business leadership to meet our goals and help Food for the Poor meet their goals. And remember, Food for the Poor, 40-year track record, 5-star Charity Navigator rated. 90% plus of every dollar raised goes directly to the provision of life-saving food to the intended beneficiaries, those on the brink of starvation in places like Haiti. How the Business Benefactor Program works: you make a tax-deductible gift through your business, $2,500 to Food for the Poor. And we at AM 560 give you 41-minute commercials to air on our airwaves, prime broadcast hours, Monday through Friday, between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. It's a great marketing deal, and at the same time, you're providing life-saving food for more than 62 children in Haiti. To become a business benefactor, just call Ann Jeanette. Ann Jeanette is our general sales manager. Her number is 847-472-8951. Again, that's Ann Jeanette at 847-472-8951 to join the Business Benefactor Program.
When you're serious about your concealed carry training and education and are ready to learn from an active police officer with a teaching degree, check out Illinois Concealed Carry Training in Midlothian. You'll learn safe, responsible firearm use, home defense planning, conflict avoidance, situational awareness, and how to remain physically, morally, and financially safe in the event you must use your firearm in self-defense or the defense of another. Weekday and weekend classes available.
I'm Sergeant Gary Carr, police firearms trainer and the owner of Illinois Concealed Carry Training. We'll arm you with what really counts: knowledge and training. All concealed carry curriculums are not created equal. This may be the single most important decision you'll ever make for yourself and your loved ones. Choose between 3 and 16-hour classes that are available both weekdays and weekends. We are your one-stop for concealed carry classes, fingerprints, and legal defense plans.
Register for a class today and get 10% off class fees with promo code AM560. Visit IllinoisConcealedCarry.com. That's IllinoisConcealedCarry.com.
It's really important that we take care of ourselves for our sake and the sake of our family. Taking Balance of Nature, I just feel better.
I'm active. My wife and I go to the gym 7 days a week. If the weather's nice like a day like this, I ride my bike. I've been taking Balance of Nature for the past 20 years. I won't give it up.
I take Balance of Nature because it makes me feel great. I really thought that they paid people to say that stuff. And then I tried it. I was surprised. Balance of Nature really was the game changer. I'm serious, it works.
Celebrate Christmas with us. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order, plus a free fiber and spice supplement. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:37, we'll go from the Bond villains in Dubai to the Bond villains at the New York Times Dealbook Conference, like Larry Fink of BlackRock, when we are joined by Steve Moore, economist and Govzilla author. 7:37.
And later, hear from a University of Pennsylvania Jewish student and what he's been going through because of what happened on October 7th. It's unbelievable. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
7:32. Senate Republicans this morning are considering blocking funding to Ukraine in a dispute over U.S. border security. It's a key procedural vote that is expected today on Capitol Hill, and Fox's Ryan Schmelz is there.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is set to meet with G7 leaders virtually to give them an update on the battlefield. This comes after Zelensky met virtually with House Republicans and after a meeting with the Senate did not happen. The Senate could have a test vote today on President Biden's emergency spending package that includes billions in aid to Ukraine and Israel, but Republicans have insisted on border security policy changes. Senate Leader Chuck Schumer making an offer to allow Republicans the First Amendment to the bill to put in, quote, whatever they want.
Let them propose an amendment that can get 60 votes.
The vote today would be on breaking a filibuster to begin debate. On Capitol Hill, Ryan Schmelz, Fox News.
Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell this morning saying he hopes all GOP members vote no on the motion to make a point that meaningful changes to the border come first. Fierce battles are being reported between Israel and Hamas in southern Gaza. Witness reports say Israeli warplanes are bombing targets across the heavily populated coast of Gaza. A shooting spree in Texas leaves 6 dead and several more injured. Austin Police Chief Robin Henderson.
We strongly believe one suspect is responsible for all of the incidents.
The suspect is in custody and facing charges. A woman was critically injured by a fire in Chicago's Lawndale neighborhood this morning. It also injured 2 Chicago police officers after a porch collapsed. Fire occurred around 1:15 a.m. in the 1200 block of South Kevdale. The state of Illinois putting the brakes on the building of a tent camp for migrants in Chicago's Brighton Park neighborhood. The decision comes after the Illinois EPA reviewed the city's environmental report showing the site at 38th in California required cleanup. Governor J.B. Pritzker.
We don't pick the sites in a city, right? The city has sites that it has made available. This is the one that they had pointed to and wanted to make sure that we focused on. These are for asylum seekers.
Mayor Brandon Johnson claims his administration will continue to move asylum seekers out of police stations as winter approaches. Chicago police are investigating after a man fell to his death from a parking garage in Streeterville. The incident happened yesterday in the first block of East Delaware Place. No foul play is suspected. No one is hurt after 2 planes clipped wings at O'Hare. It happened as the aircraft were taxiing to their gates. Planes were operated by regional carriers who fly under the United Express banner. Chicago sports. Number 18 Fighting Illini look solid, knocking off number 9 Florida Atlantic 98-89 in last night's Jimmy V Classic. Marcus Domask and Terrence Shannon Jr. both had 33 in the Illini win. The news, the service of the Fireplace and Chimney Authority, Chicagoland's largest and most respected fireplace and chimney company. Call to schedule your appointment today, 630-279-8500, or visit their showrooms in Lisle or Elmhurst. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Would you like to have your mortgage or rent paid for all of 2024? Yeah, that sounds like a Christmas miracle, doesn't it? Well, that's exactly what AM 560, The Answer, wants to do for you. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle to enter our Christmas Mortgage Miracle Contest. Enter once per day, every day, between now and December 20th, and you can have your rent or mortgage paid for all of next year. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. So-called women's groups have always claimed to speak for women and defend their interests. Now we know these claims were a hypocritical sham. Feminist women's groups have lost all legitimacy by failing to denounce Hamas's use of rape and sexual violence against women as a weapon of war. What Hamas has done to Israeli women is beyond horrific. Take just one example. One Israeli woman, described as having the face of an angel, was gang raped by 8 to 10 men. She begged to be killed before being shot in the back of the head. Her rapists laughed. A State Department spokesman admitted Hamas likely refuses to release female hostages because they'll tell of the grotesque sexual atrocities committed against them. Still, the women's groups, including the UN's Arm for Female Empowerment, remain far too silent. They're appalling. It's time to reassert the moral standard against violence against women in war.
Right now is a really good time to get your student loans under control. There are so many people that we talk to every day who tell us that they just feel so much anxiety and overwhelmed by their student loans. But once they pick up that phone and call us and we're able to give them a plan and a strategy that may lower their payment by hundreds of dollars, sometimes thousands of dollars, and may actually get their loans forgiven. The point is just to give people some clarity and control over their situation so that they know that whatever the payment is, whatever the plan is, there actually is a plan, and that plan is going to save them the most amount of money. I'm Ray Kaplan, and I can help you get debt-free, stress-free. Give us a call at 312-294-8989 or visit us at financialrelief.com.
It's really important that we take care of ourselves for our sake and the sake of our family. Taking balance of nature, I just feel better.
I'm active. My wife and I go to the gym 7 days a week. If the weather's nice like a day like this, I ride my bike. I've been taking balance of nature for the past 20 years. I won't give it up.
I take balance of nature because it makes me feel great. I really thought that they paid people to say that stuff. And then I tried it. I was surprised. Balance of nature really was the game changer. I'm serious, it works.
Celebrate Christmas with us. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order, plus a free fiber and spice supplement. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Pluto TV is your home for the holidays. Enjoy Christmas classics, all for free. Download the Pluto TV app on all your favorite devices. Pluto TV, stream now, pay never.
7:39. Let's check the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. The Edens 35 and climbing from Lake Cook Road into the junction. The Kennedy sitting at 85 minutes from O'Hare to the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike is an hour 5 from 390 into the old post office. Stevenson, brake lights between Harlem Avenue and Kedzie. It's an hour 5 from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. And the Dan Ryan, a full half hour, 95th into the Burns Circle. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Clouds and sun today. We're topping out at 39. Clouds will break overnight with a low of 34. Mostly cloudy and 35 at O'Hare. Your next news update is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Health Quest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba. Saturday mornings at 11. Visit healthquestradio.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Moving from the Bond villains in Dubai to Bond villains here at home at present. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink. I know there's been good news that the ESG investments have been on the wane, but Larry Fink is not at all inhibited by that development. Listen to what he said, sitting next to the Amex CEO, by the way, during the New York Times Deal Book confab about ESG and the attitude he has about what he's pushing. And again, between BlackRock and Vanguard, the leverage they have on most of corporate America.
Behaviors are going to have to change, and this is one thing we're asking companies. You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock we are forcing behaviors. What we are doing internally is if you don't achieve these levels of impact, your compensation could be impacted, okay? You have to force behaviors. And if you don't force behaviors, whether it's gender or race or just any way you want to say the composition of your team, you're going to be impacted.
Forced behaviors, gender and race. You know what that is. I mean, that's all the DIE stuff. Mm-hmm. So for all the encouragement that we've gotten from the reporting that DIE is on the wane and ESG is on the decline, Larry Fink is doubling down. You just heard him. For more on this, Steve Moore, economist and GovZilla author, joins us. Steve, thanks for being with us.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Hi, Amy.
So the corporate world can only go so far before they draw the ire of Larry Fink, and he starts to try to impose his will to change behaviors, as you heard him say.
Yeah, that was a strange quote. And by the way, it sounded a lot like Stalin. That you have to force people to change their behavior. Is there going to be a 5-year plan? But it's disappointing, too, because in recent months, Larry Fink has kind of pulled back on some of his extreme ESG, climate change dictates, and also on this diversity and equity issue. And yet, every time they take a step forward, they take a step backward. You look at these big firms like Fidelity, and you look at State Street, and you look at BlackRock, and you look at these others. They control trillions and trillions of dollars of assets. So they can command these companies to engage in all sorts of liberal policies with just by their financial might. And I find that deeply disturbing. As you know, earlier this year at the Committee to Unleash Prosperity, we graded these firms on how they're voting on things like these proxy votes they take on shareholder resolutions, and like 80 to 90% of the time, they're voting for the extreme left-wing, hostile resolutions against the very companies they own stock in.
Well, so how do you combat the BlackRocks and the Vanguards and the State Streets of the world? How can companies do it?
Yeah. So that's a great question. So when we issued our report back, showing in the Wall Street Journal that 90% of these firms are voting for all these ridiculous things. By the way, that is a violation of their fiduciary duty to their clients. They, if you have an account, let's say in Fidelity or BlackRock, they have a fiduciary duty to provide you the best possible return they can get, right? And they're not doing that because
I'm sorry to interrupt, but do you need like shareholder suits? Is that that's what Ramaswamy has proposed, hasn't he?
So I think what we have to do is shame these companies. And so it was really interesting after our report came out. Now there is some good news. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer here. It is true that a lot of these companies they're voting for fewer of these crazy resolutions that are brought by these left. What happens is, they have these big shareholder meetings, and these, liberal activist groups come in and say, oh, you're not hiring enough blacks or minorities or this or that, or you have to divest in oil and gas companies, even though oil and gas companies in the last 14 months have made more money than virtually any other industry. And so they're costing retirees in their 401k plans money by playing politics with their pensions. And so people are angry about this and moving. So you ask, what can people do? Find out how your investment firm, whether they're engaging in this stuff. And if they are, pull your money out and put it into a company like Dimensional that doesn't play these games.
Okay, that's one way to do it. What about shareholder suits, and particularly maybe some of the the Carl Icahns of the world that really could make an impact? I mean, is there any prospect to that being effective?
I guess so. But these firms are supposedly representing shareholders. That's the point. Shareholder suits against who? What's happening here is that the shareholder organizations are the ones who are forcing upon these companies. Look, the CEOs, for the most part, of these companies, they just want to make money. They don't want to have all these crazy things. You can't buy plastics. You have to have so many gays and blacks and women and on your board and stuff. They're saying, no, we're going to hire the best qualified people we can. We're not going to have quotas. But this is what this DEI stuff is all about. And I do think it's in retreat, though. I do think people are rebelling against it in a positive way.
Speaking of rebelling or revolting or migrating to places that are consistent with your values, to borrow a favorite phrase of the left. This is an interesting chart, and this was a perfect backdrop against last week's debate between DeSantis and Newsom, and maybe DeSantis will mention this in tonight's final debate before the Iowa caucus. This breakdown by region of the 2.1 million Americans who've moved to Florida since the beginning of COVID. 32% came from the Northeast, 32% came from the South, 21% came
and the rest came from Chicago.
Well, 21% from the Midwest, with Illinois leading the way, yes, from the Midwest,
right.
And 15% from the West. I mean, it just shows you that it's, I know you often say people are moving from California to Houston for the weather. But it's when you have nice weather, yes, but when you have a freedom-oriented governance agenda, boy, you attract people from all over the country.
That's right. And, so it was interesting. Gavin Newsom said, well, not that many people are leaving California for Florida. And that's true that the migration isn't really into Florida, isn't really mostly from California. Because
it is in the West. It's leading
exactly.
It is in the West
exactly.
part of the region. They're leading the Western states in out-migration to Florida.
That's right. So people are going to Arizona. They're going to, Nevada, which has no income tax. They're going to Montana and so on. So this is a big story. People are leaving. They're voting with their feet against these liberal policies. And you're seeing it, by the way, I was in Chicago a week and a half ago. Things seem to be a little bit better in the downtown area. I don't know, Amy, if I'm just imagining that, but things seem to be a little bit settling down in Chicago. I didn't feel like if I walked down Michigan Ave, I was going to get shot.
Well, I think your judgment is clouded by the Christmas decorations, possibly.
Yes, it was. You're so right. I have to say, can I say that there's no city that has better Christmas decorations than Chicago.
That's a calling card. Yeah.
It is, and it really is.
We do this
the
right.
The city looks beautiful at night. But look, I want to make another point, if I may, because this is really important. In the last 3 or 4 days, the Biden administration has made two declarations, Dan and Amy, and these are really important. One is they want to stop building all coal plants in the United States, and they have a plan within the next 6 years to shut down every single coal plant in the United States. That's 30% of our electric power comes from coal plants, and we need coal plants as a backup for the wind and solar plants when they're not working. Second of all, did you see what they're talking about with respect to methane? Now,
but by the way, just on coal, that has some Illinois relevance, as you know, because of Southern Illinois coal. So anyway, but go ahead.
Exactly. Coal. I mean, look, let's be clear about this, folks. The United States of America was built on coal. We have the most coal in the world. It is an important source of electric power production, and we have the cleanest coal in the world. Meanwhile, I think all of your listeners, because you have smart listeners, know that while we're shutting down our coal plants right now this year, China is building 100 new coal plants. So, boy, that's going to do a lot for the climate. But the other thing that's almost more sinister is, did you see that they've declared war on, quote, methane? Now, Dan and Amy, do you know what methane is?
Methane gas, yeah.
It's natural gas. Right. It's a fancy term for natural gas. Well, guess what? Natural gas reduces carbon emissions. It doesn't increase carbon emissions. It's the reason the United States has reduced our carbon emissions more than any other country, because we have fracking. We're getting access to all this natural gas. My point is, they want to put natural gas out of business, and they want to put coal out of production. If they do this is a serious heart attack, folks. They are going to eliminate 60% of America's energy.
Yeah, and then, last we spoke about EVs. NBC Nightly News did a piece where car dealers are saying people can't sell these ones. People are returning their EVs because they want their old cars back. So what are they going to? So they're going to have to mandate that, the government is, to get rid of those vehicles. I mean, they're piling up some. There's even some different rental car places that are not accepting electronic vehicles anymore either.
So there's a big vote. This is another good topic, because there's a vote that may happen today on the House floor to eliminate the Biden administration's obscene AEV mandates, which are going to require in 5 or 6 or 7 years that everybody buy an electric vehicle. Now, I'm not against electric vehicles, but I'm certainly against the government telling me what kind of car I have to buy. I will be quiet. I bet most of your Illinois delegation votes for the Biden mandates, Dan. I bet they all are going to fall right in line with this. You got to give up your car, folks, to save the planet.
Well, sure. I mean, we got 15 Democrats to 3 Republicans, so you'll have 15 votes for it and 3 against it. That's what it'll be.
I mean, but how can Democrats? I mean, this is a free country. This is still America, isn't it? You can't. They're telling you can't buy the kind of car you want.
Sort of. It's still sort of America. That's open for debate. And speaking of which, I mean, we didn't talk to you since last week's DeSantis-Newsom debate. What was your takeaway? Did DeSantis do a good job advancing the flag for the red state governance model?
I think he did. I mean, he still, if it were a debate on substance, absolutely DeSantis won. If it was style, I mean, I don't know. I want Amy's. I don't know if you watched any of it.
You have a man crush on Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, he is good looking. He's statuesque. I mean, if he was 300 pounds and short, nobody would even care.
Yeah. I do have a man crush on him, and he's he doesn't. Did you notice he doesn't have a hair out of place, and he smiles all the time?
Dan.
Yeah, like Patrick Bateman.
Just let me and Steve have this conversation, okay? No.
Exactly.
But he's slimy because everything out of his mouth was a lie.
He lied.
But
he
he's
lied,
slick, man.
lied.
Oh.
But he's good at it. You got it.
I mean, he's slimy. Yeah, I mean,
he is. I mean, I actually
eel.
think that I do think that DeSantis did himself a lot of good with that debate. We'll see whether that is. But look, Trump gave that town hall meeting. Look, the guy is got his game face on. He's very relaxed. He's calm. He's talking common sense, and I just still think he's going to be tough to beat.
I just loved yesterday when he said, I'm going to be a dictator for one day. I'm going to close the border. That's my one-day dictatorship. I'm like, bingo.
He had a
That's
lot of
what
good
we
lines.
want to hear.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's just a reaction to Biden's craziness. And it really is coming down to, what Sarah Huckabee Sanders said, a year ago. Do you want craziness or do you want common sense?
Steve Moore, economist and Govzilla author. Thanks, Steve.
All right, guys. Have a great day. Take care.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
Have you been struggling to find an easy, safe, and secure document scanning solution for Salesforce.com, Microsoft 365, SharePoint, or OnBase by Highland? Your struggle is now over, and it's time to get your documents and operations into the 21st century. With IoT Smart Connected Scanning, it's easy to turn physical paper into digital documents and have them directly uploaded to the cloud with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. And you don't need a degree in computing or IT to make it happen. Using QR code technology uniquely configured for your specific business, anyone can set the IoT Smart Connected Scanning device up in 5 minutes or less, saving your organization money and valuable time. Remote employees can even capture documents and send them safely and seamlessly. Organize documents efficiently and securely with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. To see a demo or to order now, go to ready4idt.com. That's ready4idt.com. Use promo code SMART and receive 10% off your order. IDT, putting paper in its place.
Oh. You know what, Dan? I'm going to have you read one of these pajamagrams.
I don't want to mean to be a downer, but we do need to report that just came over the wire that Norman Lear died at the age of 101. Now, he was a lefty clown, People for the American Way founder, but
he
Jefferson's
creator,
All in the Family. You can't argue with those sitcoms.
No, rest in peace. I think maybe he was going to get a pajamagram.
Oh,
even if you're 100, you could still get the pajamagram. It's never too late to have a little kitty fun at Christmas time. Okay, so the pajamagram has your back with a deluxe.
Are you saying Norman Lear was a cross-dresser?
No.
Oh.
Giving his loved one. Was his wife still alive?
I don't.
Who knows?
I'm not sure. I don't want to see anybody in their 90s in a pajamagram, though. But anyway.
Well, we're not excluding anyone. So get the gift this holiday season. It's the Smooth Seduction Satin Nightie and Robe, plus a free satin eye mask, all wrapped in an elegant satin keepsake bag. I think somebody's going to be coming down the Christmas tree, down the chimney for Justin Kosick and his new wife, Bethany. Oh, yeah. It's designed to make her feel amazing and drive you wild. The Smooth Seduction Satin gift set is your ticket to a very nice winter season. So get it before they run out. The Smooth Seduction Satin Nightie, Robe, Eye Mask, and Keepsake Bag.
Oh, by the way,
I'm
sorry
talking
to interrupt.
over here.
I got to break in here. Lynn Lear, his third wife, I think.
Yeah.
She's only 73. Boy,
So
talk about May, December.
Let's give her a pajamagram.
No.
Go to pajamagram.com, and tell them Dan and Amy sent you.
I love giving jewelry as a gift. Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. I want to tell you that Roland's Jewelers is the perfect place for that magical holiday gift for someone you love. I'm always amazed by their 5-star Google reviews. I love that they're family-owned. Hey, getting engaged? Well, Roland's Jewelers has a large selection of both mined and lab-grown diamonds at great prices. Choose from beautifully crafted engagement rings from designer Simon G. or Italian designer Roberto Coin, offering stunning diamond pendants and earrings. How about a Tag Heuer watch with cutting-edge technology? Listen, I've been a customer of Roland's Jewelers for a long time. You should too. They're so impressive. Their staff is expertly trained. I encourage you to visit Roland's Jewelers in downtown Libertyville or visit RolandsJewelers.com. That's ROLLANDS, RolandsJewelers.com. Roland's Jewelers, a family-owned jeweler you can trust this holiday, just like I do.
Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson here, and if you're a small business owner or you make the marketing or advertising decisions for a business, then this message is for you.
Our annual Food for the Poor campaign is underway, and this year we're helping to raise money for children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean who are desperate for access to food.
Millions of people, including many children, are suffering during this season of economic decline, unemployment, and rising food prices.
Here's how you and your business can be part of the solution. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor. Just make a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor, and AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you.
It's the best deal in all of Chicago radio.
Just call Anjanette Natowski at 847-472-8951. Again, that's 847-472-8951, or go to 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We'll get reaction from Helen Raleigh from thefederalist.com to yesterday's testimony from Ivy League college presidents at 8:08.
And hear from that University of Pennsylvania student who's Jewish, who's been quite through an ordeal. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
The state stops building on the Brighton Park migrant camp. Man falls to his death from a Streeterville parking garage. Combined North Shore and Edward Elmhurst health systems have been renamed. Top 10 college hoops win for the Illini, and the Blackhawks fall to the Preds in a shootout. WIND Chicago News Time is 8 o'clock.
A TV legend has died. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Someone who wasn't on screen. Norman Lear was a writer and producer who created legendary sitcoms like Sanford and Son, The Jeffersons, and All in the Family.
Boy, the way Glenn Miller played.
Norman Lear won numerous Emmys and other awards. He died at the age of 101. Time magazine has just named its Person of the Year.
It's me.
Yes, Taylor Swift, it is you. After quite a year featuring a big tour, a box office topping concert film, and a much-talked-about relationship with football star Travis Kelce. 4 Republicans running for president will debate tonight, but once again, former President Trump will be a no-show after a town hall on Fox last night in Iowa before the first contest there next month.
From the enthusiasm in the polls, we're going to win by a lot more than we won even the last 2 times.
And what he said to Sean Hannity is under a lot of scrutiny. When asked if he would abuse power or seek retribution against his critics, the former president said no.
Except for day one, meaning I want to close the border and I want to drill.
That's not retribution.
Now, President Biden at a fundraiser in Boston told Democratic donors if former President Trump wasn't running, he might not have run for re-election, as he keeps warning another Trump term is a danger to democracy. Israel keeps bombarding southern Gaza, going after Hamas leaders, displacing more Palestinians. Many already had fled their homes in the north.
James Elder from UNICEF believes so-called safe zones aren't worth the name.
These are tiny patches of barren land, or they're street corners. There's sidewalks. There is no water, no facilities, no shelter.
Israel insists it's doing all it can to limit humanitarian suffering.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. 6 people are dead in Texas after police say a man now in custody went on a shooting spree, first in San Antonio, then in Austin, where 2 officers were also wounded. America's listening to Fox News.
35 degrees in Chicago, 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A woman critically injured by a fire in the Lawndale neighborhood that also injured 2 Chicago police officers after a porch collapse early this morning. Fire broke out around 1:15 a.m. in the home in the 1200 block of South Kevdale. The state of Illinois is putting a stop to the building of a migrant tent camp in Chicago's Brighton Park neighborhood. Brighton Park residents have been protesting. Their attorney is Frank Avila.
It was incompetence. It was poor communication. It's poor planning. It's poor management. It's a waste of money.
The Illinois EPA cited concerns related to insufficient soil sampling and remediation. Because of the time required for additional testing, the state will not proceed in paying for the base camp.
We don't pick the sites in a city, right? The city has sites that it has made available. This is the one that they had pointed to and wanted to make sure that we focused on. These are for asylum seekers.
Mayor Johnson says alternate locations are being explored. Chicago police are investigating after a man fell to his death from a parking garage in Streeterville. The incident happened yesterday. The man pronounced dead at the scene. No one hurt after two planes clipped wings at O'Hare. Planes were operated by regional carriers who fly under the United Express name. A merger of two Chicago area healthcare systems will be under a new name. North Shore and Edward Elmhurst Health will be now known as Endeavor Health. The number 18 Fighting Illini knock off number 9 Florida Atlantic at the Jimmy V Classic at MSG 98-89, 33 for Marcus Domask and Terrence Shannon Jr. Blackhawks pick up a point in a 4-3 shootout loss to Nashville. It's 8:04. Time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now, the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Mortgage rates moderated this week. The Mortgage Bankers Association's average for a 30-year fixed rate declined to 7.17%, the lowest level since August. Applications to refinance a home increased 14%, though the number of loan purchase applications declined. ExxonMobil will be buying back more stock, up to $20 billion worth a year. It expects to boost production next year with its purchase of Pioneer Natural Resources, though antitrust regulators are investigating the ExxonMobil Pioneer Natural Resources deal. Smithfield Foods is seeing demand for pork softening. It's ending contracts with 26 hog farms in the state of Utah. Reuters says the industry is seeing an oversupply of pork. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
8:05, a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Get ready for a musical journey like no other when the Trans-Siberian Orchestra returns to Chicago this Christmas season on their spectacular annual holiday tour. And AM 560 is giving away tickets. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/Christmas. Don't miss the Trans-Siberian Orchestra at the Allstate Arena. Go to 560theanswer.com/Christmas.
Want a deal? Get a free Moto 5G phone when you sign up for Pure Talk's unlimited talk, unlimited text, and 15 gig data plan for just $35 a month. Dial pound 250. Say the keyword save now to get this exclusive offer and to select the plan that's right for you and your family. Pure Talk gives you America's most dependable 5G network at half the price. Dial pound 250. Say the keyword save now to claim your free Moto G 5G phone with a qualifying plan. Pure Talk, simply smarter wireless.
Doug. With Liberty Mutual, you can customize and save hundreds on your car insurance. But what to buy with those savings? Yep, I bought a sound effects machine.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com. Savings may vary, underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates, excludes Massachusetts.
Liberty, 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 liberty. Want a deal? Get a free Moto 5G phone when you sign up for Pure Talk's unlimited talk, unlimited text, and 15 gig data plan for just $35 a month. Dial pound 250. Say the keyword save now to get this exclusive offer and to select the plan that's right for you and your family. Pure Talk gives you America's most dependable 5G network at half the price. Dial pound 250. Say the keyword save now to claim your free Moto G 5G phone with a qualifying plan. Pure Talk, simply smarter wireless.
And Doug. With Liberty Mutual, you can customize and save hundreds on your car insurance. But what to buy with those savings? Yep, I bought a sound effects machine.
Only pay for what you need at LibertyMutual.com. Savings may vary. Underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates. Excludes Massachusetts.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
I'm Scott, the owner of Solid Fire Pits. When I began welding my custom-made fire pits for friends and family, I shared them on TikTok because I was just so proud of them. Check it out. That's beautiful. I posted every new fire pit design, and more people kept ordering, from 26 states and counting. Then on my birthday, I had my best sales ever. Now how can the universe beat that?
Solid Fire Pits is just one of the 5 million U.S. businesses that rely on TikTok every day. TikTok sparks business.
With the holidays upon us, the increase in traveling, shopping, and connecting online also heightens the need to protect your identity and finances with LifeLock. Identity thieves see this time of year as an opportunity to drain your accounts, open new loans in your name, and damage your financial future. LifeLock detects and alerts you to the threats you might miss on your own. Don't let the busy holiday season catch you off guard. Save up to 25% off your first year with promo code CLAY. LifeLock.com, promo code CLAY.
It's 8:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is a service of In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr. Sunday morning at 6:30 on AM 560. So we start on the inbound Kennedy, where there's an accident on the right-hand shoulder. Inbound right at Addison. It's in the construction zone. It's a van and an empty school bus. 87 minutes and climbing right now, inbound on the Kennedy from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike at hour 14, 390 into the old post office. On the toll roads, Tri-State, big jam up northbound between St. Charles and the Grand Avenue curve southbound. An earlier accident being pulled out of your way between Route 137, that's Buckley Road, and the Lake Forest Oasis. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Intervals of clouds and some sun today. The high today at 39. Cloudy skies for tonight, low 34. Sunny to partly cloudy. It'll be milder tomorrow. The high at 52. Some sun then turning cloudy on Friday. The high at 57. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
35 in clouds at O'Hare. 35 along Chicago's lakefront. Your next news update is at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment brought to you by Unleash Your Wealth with Raj Shah and Rick Borick this Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. Learn more at scwealthadvisors.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Yesterday, House Speaker Mike Johnson had a press conference to discuss what life is like for Jewish students on campus, particularly Ivy League campuses. And one student that was featured is a University of Penn undergrad named Ekal Jacoby. Listen to what he said about what the situation is at Penn. And remember, the Huntsman family made the big splash by saying they were no longer donating to UPenn because of what's happening, just as we've had huge donors from Harvard say the same. Listen to young Ekal Jacoby.
Nonetheless, I refuse to go back to 1939 when Jews had to hide their religious symbols and hide who they are due to the intimidation and harassment of us. I used to think this was nonsense, fear-mongering, until I was made aware that Penn recommended to students, quote, not wear clothing/accessories related to Judaism.
Right. So that would lead one to believe that there are students on campus at University of Pennsylvania that are failing to abide the code of conduct. And so think about what Jacoby said in the context of this back and forth before a House committee between Congresswoman Elise Stefanik and University of Penn President Liz McGill.
Ms. McGill, at Penn, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's rules or code of conduct? Yes or no?
If the speech turns into conduct, it can be harassment, yes.
I am asking, specifically calling for the genocide of Jews, does that constitute bullying or harassment?
If it is directed and severe or pervasive, it is harassment.
So the answer is yes.
It is a context-dependent decision, Congresswoman.
It's a context-dependent decision. That's your testimony today. Calling for the genocide of Jews is depending upon the context. That is not bullying or harassment. This is the easiest question to answer yes, Ms. McGill. So is your testimony that you will not answer yes?
If it if the
yes
speech
or
becomes
no?
if the speech becomes conduct, it can be harassment. Yes.
Conduct meaning committing the act of genocide? The speech is not harassment? This is unacceptable, Ms. McGill. I'm going to give you one more opportunity for the world to see your answer. Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's code of conduct when it comes to bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It can be harassment.
The answer is yes. And Dr. Gay, at Harvard.
We'll get to Dr. Gay. Liz McGill, so rather than trying to hi-hat her, Elise Stefanik would have been better to say, oh, really, it's contextual. Okay, well, give me a scenario. Give me the context in which someone calling for the genocide of Jews on campus is not violative of the code of conduct. I would have liked to hear that answer.
Well, Jacoby, though, I mean, he was told by classmates and even professors, quote, you're a dirty little J word. You deserve to die, while he was running from one building to the next. That's acceptable? No, that's not.
Well, the other point here, emphasis on code of conduct. Code of conduct on a campus is not the same as First Amendment. So what does the code of conduct say, and how is that example or others, Jacoby saying, I'm being told not, for example, I can't wear a yarmulke without fear of being safe on campus. So how is that environment being perpetrated by apparently some Penn students not violative of the code of conduct? And then she turned to Claudine Gay, who is the president of Harvard. And you had the same sort of back and forth. This particular snippet from their exchange is really illustrative. It was very reminiscent of the testimony Christopher Wray gave over on the Senate side before senators on a range of topics, where he essentially said, we have these processes and safeguards in place to ensure that bad actors are punished, to ensure that the FBI operates within its powers, legitimate powers. And, of course, we have no intention to use those processes because we're just sort of caretakers for the politics of the agency, just like these university presidents are just caretakers for the dominant politics on campus.
What action has been taken against students who are harassing and calling for the genocide of Jews on Harvard's campus?
I can assure you we have robust
What actions have been taken? I'm not asking.
Actions underway.
I'm asking what actions have been taken against those students.
Given students' rights to privacy and our obligations under FERPA, I will not say more about any specific cases other than to reiterate that processes are ongoing.
She might as well have said there's an ongoing investigation, like Christopher Wray says, to cover having to answer any questions about what specifically is or is not happening. Oh, by the way, the hypocrisy, too, and the doublespeak. Stefanik pointed out that the Foundation for Individual Rights in Education, FIRE, has ranked Harvard last out of 203 schools in the country in terms of its free speech. And there are myriad examples. Harvard sanctioned 4 scholars, 3 of whom had terminated in 2019, revoked conservative student activist Kyle Kashev, one of the Parkland High School shooting survivors, acceptance over comments he made on social media when he was a 16-year-old, disinvited feminist philosopher Devin Buckley from an English department colloquium on campus over her views on gender and trans, meaning she didn't follow the orthodoxy on campus. Terminated law professor Ronald Sullivan for representing Harvey Weinstein, at the height of the Me Too movement, and so many other examples. It's my contention that Claudine Gay could be the FBI director and Christopher Wray could be the president of Harvard. The managerial elite operate the same way. There's no particular law enforcement expertise you need to be the FBI director in this environment, and there's no particular expertise or academic bona fides you need to be the president of Harvard. You just need to manage the political environment consistent with the interests of your fellow travelers, no matter what they say or do. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Helen Raleigh. She's a senior contributor to The Federalist, Federalist.com, author of Backlash, How China's Aggression Has Backfired. Helen Raleigh, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So your reaction to what you heard in those exchanges, what it indicates about the culture on campus. I know the Cultural Revolution on campus, your piece is mainly focused on China, but these are sort of similar dynamics in terms of the environment and culture on campus.
Yes, I agree. I agree with what you just said. I watched some of the hearings yesterday. I was just utterly disappointed and shocked, even though I know our college campuses are intolerant of different ideas. But those presidents, they have weeks to prepare for this testimony, and giving all the new evidence we know about the massacre happened, a terrorist, committed a massacre and rape happened on October 7th, that the presidents have weeks, to prepare for the testimony, and they still come out with such a moral cowardice. It's shocking. And I have to say, my husband graduated from Wharton. So for years, we donated, we contributed to PEN. We stopped our contribution after PEN, basically censored Professor Amy Waxter. But it's just shocking, especially compare the president's testimony to the students' the testimony. Those students' testimony, just like this should not be happening in America.
Well, and you include in your piece on Harvard's campus, a group of pro-Palestinian students, including the editor of the Harvard Law Review, surrounded a Jewish student and shouted, "Shame, shame." That would be another good example to put to Claudine Gay. Now, is that an example? Is that conduct that's consistent with the code of conduct on campus that's supposed to be anti-bullying and anti-harassment, physical intimidation of Jewish students for being Jewish?
Well, obviously not, but we know the college campuses operate on a double standard, right? They are the ones, those liberals run the college campuses, they are the ones who told us for years that the words can be violent. So they have to censor speeches. They have to disinvite conservative speakers. They have to disinvite detransitioned, transgender activists because they said the words are violence. They want to keep the campus a safe place for other students. But then when actual violence took place, they cannot bring themselves to issue, condemnation, issue statement. They suddenly became quiet, became cowards. And I think yesterday's testimony and their reactions, all these supposedly adults in charge of campus, their reactions since October 7th, which is very telling, that I think those adults are worse than the students who harassing other Jewish students. I think the adults are the root cause of why our college campuses are the most intolerant, are the most illiberal places in America.
And the nexus to Mao's Cultural Revolution, the role that young people played in the Cultural Revolution in terms of perhaps a cautionary tale about what we're seeing on college campuses in the Ivy League and elsewhere in this country.
Unfortunately, I definitely see similarities. So radical ideologies, whether it's communism, fascism, and socialism, they all tend to recruit young people, taking advantage of young people's natural disdain for authority, and radicalize young people, turn them into blunt instruments. I see that happened during China's Cultural Revolution. Young girls who were innocent before the Cultural Revolution and during the Cultural Revolution committed senseless murders, beaten and killed their own teachers. And, one of the witnesses from that event, she said something I think is something we should all remember today in America. She said that Mao started the Cultural Revolution on campus because once you ruin the campus, you ruin students, you are going to destroy traditions, you are destroying values, you are destroying cultures, you are destroying civilization. And that warning, that's what happened in China. And we're seeing this happen in real time here in America. That's why I disagree. Some people say, oh, what's happening on college campuses, they're just kids. They're going to grow out of it. We are seeing from those college professors, those presidents of running universities, they're never going to grow out of it. They're going to turn the entire society into those woke campuses, intolerant places. That's why we must learn from the history. And we all have moral responsibility to prevent our young people being taken advantage of, being turning into blunt instruments for radical ideology.
Well, then, do you think it's prudent that some large corporations and some big wigs are saying, you know what, if you're against Israel, then we're not going to hire you at our company?
Oh, absolutely. Because those corporations, they are private entities. They have every right to decide who they want to hire. And especially if somebody from law school, you just give the example I mentioned in my article about the law school review editor. I mean, he's going to be a lawyer and he's out there leading harassment against another student for no reason other than the student's religious beliefs or ethnicity. Can we trust that he's going to be a fair, good lawyer? No, he cannot be. So, yes, I think that's absolutely, necessary.
Well, and it's interesting, too. You say, they take advantage, the Cultural Revolution, take advantage of young people's distrust of authority to instigate revolt. But in this case, the authorities are conspiring. There's nothing to revolt against. They're conspiring to behave like thugs against an insular minority.
Well, there are elements of that, but I also think they are cowards. Because you're going back to my Cultural Revolution example, because when that one teacher was beaten by students, none of the adults stepped forward because they were all worried. They were driven by fear that if they step forward to say something, they're going to become the next target. So I think many of those present adults running the campus, they unleashed the woke mob, and now they lost control, and they became fearful. Because they did not want to go say the wrong things and then have those student mob, show up at their offices, prevent them to run their daily lives. So they are also morally cowards. That's why I fully support that Bill Ackman, the venture capitalist, I fully support his call that we need to have the board fire the president, hold them accountable. First, we need to hold the adults accountable. Then we need to hold those a field educators, students accountable. We must reintroduce accountability back into college campuses. If we just let this continue to fester, again, they never grow out of it. They're going to turn the rest of society into a giant college campus.
Well, right. And I mean, the troubling thing, of course, is we had a lot of advance warning that this was the culture on campuses. I mean, you don't have to go back very far. This was... I mean, just a couple of examples years ago now. University of Cal Berkeley students essentially setting the campus on fire in protesting Ben Shapiro speaking there. Middlebury College, Charles Murray walking with an administrator on campus, the social scientist Charles Murray, and students accosting both of them and physically injuring the Middlebury administrator. And so that was over just, being a conservative. And so now you see this happening with Jews being targeted on college campuses, and people are, shocked at what's been going on. It's been going on for a long time. And now we are trying to assess, some people are trying to assess, how deep the roots are, because it's going to take a significant effort, not just punishing a few students one-off for not hiring the guy from Harvard Law Review. It's going to take a real big lift to undo all that has been allowed to take hold on the campus.
Oh, I agree. Like people like you and I work in the media, we've been like shouting into the air for the intolerance, the speech censorship, college campuses, what's going on for years now. But we were told that they're going to grow out of it. Obviously now, this tragic event that took place in Israel is a revealing. Just like the COVID pandemic was a revealing event, now this massacre happened in Israel is also revealing. It helped many people on the left finally open their eyes to see how bad this woke ideology is. I mean, all the presidents, they sound like they were just coached by the same DEI consultant. That's why they give those very canned answers over and over again. They lack moral clarity because they never learned that from the DEI consultant. And this whole idea that, a crime is not a crime, it really all depends on who's the perpetrator, who's the victim. Their skin color matters. Depends on who's the victim, the skin color of the victim, then we can decide that's the context they're seeking for. It's all very disgusting. Like, I'm so disgusted by what's going on in America today. And, I did not come to America to relive in a illiberal environment I left behind, in China. That's why I am so outspoken. I'm writing articles. I almost get tired of keep saying, this looks like cultural revolution. This looks like what's happening in China. Wake up. We need to stop this. So I hope out of this tragedy, what happened with Israel and all the reactions that we see today, I hope more people on the left will wake up. This is the speech, the protection, the equal rights in front of law. These are not a left and right issue. This is a good versus evil, liberal ideology versus illiberal ideology. It should be very clear. We should all have this moral clarity. So I hope this event will wake up more people, more Americans, to put a stop on this terrible trend.
Helen Raleigh, senior contributor to The Federalist, Federalist.com, author of Backlash, How China's Aggression Has Backfired. Helen Raleigh, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Support our police and hire the police to personally protect you. You've watched the news. Rising crime has been affecting our everyday lives in Illinois more and more these days. Blue Star Security can protect you, your business, or your place of worship. Blue Star Security is the only security company in Chicago with over 900 off-duty police officers, all W-2 employees.
I'm Jeffrey Salvetti, Vice President of Blue Star Security and a 15-year law enforcement veteran. The Blue Star team is made up of over 900 state-certified active and retired law enforcement professionals. We serve businesses and private organizations with supply chain and special event security, and also protect our loved ones at places of worship and schools all across the Chicagoland area. Blue Star Security's technology allows mobilization of off-duty officers quickly and efficiently. Our primary mission is to provide unparalleled protective services for each assignment with integrity while maintaining our commitment to community service in the Chicagoland area.
Visit online to schedule a free security consultation at bluestarsecurityllc.com. That's bluestarsecurityllc.com.
Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way over my head. The total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy, pretty much hands off. They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. Optima Tax Relief. Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 8:38, Julie Kelly joins us to talk J6 tapes and Christopher Wray's testimony. 8:38.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
8:32. Skies are cloudy and 34 degrees, and intense fighting being reported in southern Gaza between Israel and Hamas.
They say over the past day they've hit 250 different targets. Also, Israeli ground forces locating a number of weapons, explosives, and tunnel shafts in the last day. The Israelis targeting launching sites for the rockets that were fired toward Tel Aviv, Israel's second largest city, just yesterday. Inside Gaza, the death toll continues to rise. An Israeli strike against Deir al-Balah in central Gaza killed multiple Palestinians, yet another indication that Israeli forces are making their way deeper into the Strip to look for hostages and destroy Hamas leadership.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Tuesday he would need to hold some type of control over the Strip long after their war. Senate Republicans are considering blocking funding to Ukraine in a dispute over border security. A key procedural vote is expected today. Former President Donald Trump taking some shots at President Biden during a Fox News town hall event. Trump was asked if he felt President Biden would be the Democrat candidate in 11 months.
I personally don't think he makes it. Okay, I haven't said that. I'm saving it for this big town hall. I personally don't think he makes it.
Meantime, a federal court in Arizona is dismissing a lawsuit claiming former President Trump should not be allowed on that state's ballot next year. Norman Lear, the producer and writer of some of the biggest hits on TV, is dead at the age of 101. Lear produced shows like that, The Jeffersons, All in the Family, Good Times, and One Day at a Time. Lear died at his home in Los Angeles of natural causes, again at the age of 101. Taylor Swift, Time Person of the Year, chosen over 8 finalists, including King Charles and Barbie. In other news we're following this morning, a woman was critically injured by a fire in the Lawndale neighborhood. Fire broke out around 1:15 a.m. 2 Chicago police officers were also hurt when a porch collapsed. The state of Illinois putting a stop to the building of a tent camp for migrants in the Brighton Park neighborhood. The Illinois EPA citing concerns related to insufficient soil sampling and remediation. Chicago sports, the number 18 Fighting Illini, a big road win over Florida Atlantic at the Jimmy V Classic last night, 98-89. Blackhawks, a 4-3 shootout loss to Nashville. It's 8:35. We'll have a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Would you like to have your mortgage or rent paid for all of 2024? Yeah, that sounds like a Christmas miracle, doesn't it? Well, that's exactly what AM 560, The Answer, wants to do for you. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle to enter our Christmas Mortgage Miracle Contest. Enter once per day, every day, between now and December 20th, and you can have your rent or mortgage paid for all of next year. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, Doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidisciplined practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology, such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930. That's 630-830-4930. Or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
Hi, my name is Peg. I'm a wife, mother, and grandmother. I love being with family. We have so much fun doing things together, and that is really the priority of my life. Family is so important to me, and I want to stay healthy so that I can continue to do the things that I enjoy doing with all of them. I try and exercise and eat well, and balance of nature just helps me to put it all together and take me over the top. I really am happy that I came across it, and I've been taking it for probably 5 years, and I will continue to take it. I would recommend Balance of Nature. It's so easy to do every day. I feel great, and who doesn't want to feel great?
Go to balanceofnature.com and get 35% off plus a free fiber and spice supplement as a preferred customer by using discount code Chicago.
Hi, Wayne Burdick, Health Insurance Specialist. Open enrollment for individual and small group plans has arrived. There are many plan changes for 2024. Let me help you find the right plan. Lower your cost of insurance, reduce deductibles and out-of-pocket expenses. Call now, 847-274-5918, or go to lowercosthealthplans.com. Having an agent is crucial and no cost to you. Call Burdick Insurance at 847-274-5918 or lowercosthealthplans.com.
Do you have a home remodeling project you'd love to get done? This is your opportunity to lock in this year's pricing with Chicago's Design Build Dream Team. Forever Remodeling is now offering exceptional savings. Simply sign on by December 31st to avoid any price increases next year. At Forever Remodeling, their expert designers and installers will turn your dreams into reality. Act now and you'll not only protect yourself from future price increases, but also beat the rush and secure a preferred spot in their schedule. Call 847-809-3355 or visit foreverremodeling.com. Highly skilled to design and build.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Wealth Health Radio with Joe Murphy, Sundays, noon to 1. Learn more online at mwmfinancial.tax.
8:39, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Glendale Heights, an accident North Avenue just east of Main Street. Bloomingdale, an accident Gary Avenue and Glenwood. Delays on I-80 due to an earlier accident. It's on the westbound side between Cicero and Central. On the Reagan, you're jam solid on the eastbound side between Cermak and the Tri-State. DuSable Lakeshore Drive showing up with delays northbound between 18th and Grand Avenue. Traffic is a service of Boost Infinite. Switch today, 855-55-BOOST. Visit boostinfinite.com or go to amazon.com and search for Boost iPhone 15. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast mostly cloudy and 34. Your next news update is at 9, and Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. America First with Sebastian Gorka, weekday afternoons at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy want to revisit some of Christopher Wray's testimony before Senate committee yesterday. But first, House Speaker Mike Johnson on the J6 tapes that have been yet to be released. Something he said yesterday, I want to get our next guest, Julie Kelly's reaction to. Take a listen.
Trust the American people to draw their own conclusions. They should not be dictated by some narrative and accept that as fact. So they can review the tapes themselves. We're going through a methodical process of releasing them as quickly as we can. As you know, we have to blur some of the faces of persons who participated in the events of that day because we don't want them to be retaliated against and to be charged by the DOJ and to have other concerns and problems. So that's a slow process to get it done. We're working steadily on it. We've hired additional personnel to do that, and all of those tapes ultimately at the end will be out so everybody can see them and draw their own conclusion. Let me go.
What's he referring to there with the blurring out of certain faces? Julie Kelly is a reporter who's been done more reporting on J6 than anybody in the country.
She's the best in the business.
You can check out her work at her Substack, Declassified with Julie Kelly. She's also the author of January 6, How Democrats Use the Capitol Protests to Launch a War on Terror Against the Political Right. Julie, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, guys. Good morning. Thank you for the kind opening. Appreciate it.
So what's Speaker Johnson referring to there?
So that was really an unwise comment for the speaker to say. I think it sounds more like a delay tactic than something legitimate. The Department of Justice has had these thousands of hours of surveillance video now since January 7th of 2021. They have charged more than 1,200 Americans. They're still arresting people every single week, including from the state of Illinois. So I'm not sure why he thought that was a smart thing to say. That was sort of originally the delay tactic. Well, we have to blur out faces of people who have not been charged or who the DOJ is going to go after. They're going after these people regardless. Also, we've seen a lot of tapes. There's a lot of body-worn camera footage from police that's been made available. So no one is going to hide from this Department of Justice. Mike Johnson needs to stop talking about releasing these tapes and release them. It's been now 2.5 weeks since he released the first small batch. They promised they were going to do this on a rolling basis. They haven't. Release the tapes, stop talking about it, and stop these unforced errors then that give the media and Democrats more oxygen to say you're trying to protect people, you're trying to protect quote-unquote criminals. Just release the tapes. We'll figure it out. We don't need Mike Johnson as the referee.
Well, when he says we have to blur some of the faces, that makes me think that he's blurring the faces of informants, FBI informants. What about you?
Exactly right, Amy. And that was the reaction on our side, is that Republicans are working in cahoots with the FBI to blur the faces of FBI undercover agents or informants. Now, we know that informants were there. We know that undercover agents from both Capitol Police, D.C. Police, Department of Homeland Security, a lot of agents had undercover officers on the scene that day. So I guess to that extent, if you wanted to say we want to conceal the faces of undercover officers, people might understand that. We certainly don't want the faces of FBI informants who were involved in violence, which we know that they were. We don't need that concealed from the public anymore.
I wanted to ask you about this story that broke before Thanksgiving, and it came from a former U.S. Marshal. And what she said on during a Fox News interview was essentially that the only thing U.S. Marshals are doing today are acting as administrative staff at the border, like passing out water and stuff to people coming across illegally, or they're part of this program that's ongoing where they're following around people who were in the vicinity of the Capitol on January 6th, even though they've not been charged with any crimes. Do you know anything about that last program?
I absolutely do. And in fact, that U.S. Marshal is in our movie, Police State, that was produced by Dinesh D'Souza and Dan Bongino. And she explains at length how U.S. Marshals have been redirected from securing flights, that used to be worried about foreign terrorists and now tracking people who have been charged or are just being surveilled by the government related to their involvement in January 6th. So she's absolutely right. And I just know this for a fact, talking to so many J6 defendants, a lot of them, including those accused of misdemeanors like trespassing, are on a terror flight list. Their tickets have something called a Quad 6 label on it. They have to go through extensive levels of security, including at the gate, including when they deplane. They are followed around like ISIS terrorists simply because they, as I said, have either charged on petty offenses, misdemeanors, or are simply under surveillance. And this includes, in one instance, the infant child of someone who was charged with January 6th. So this is where federal government resources are going, people.
And do we have more examples of the federal government prosecutors withholding exculpatory evidence, not being fully compliant in the discovery process in these criminal proceedings? Because we essentially had that with the infamous QAnon shaman, where there was video that ultimately was unearthed that was not provided to the defense, to his representation, by the federal government. And once that was unearthed, all of a sudden he's moved from a multi-year sentence to a halfway house.
So there are still complaints from defense attorneys that the government, this DOJ, has withheld exculpatory evidence. This includes the surveillance video. In March of 2021, the General Counsel for the Capitol Police, which technically owns this 40,000 hours of surveillance video throughout the Capitol complex on the 5th, 6th, and 7th of January 2021, went under a blanket protective order The Capitol Police said that footage was sensitive government material, and every clip basically is under protective orders authorized by D.C. judges. So really, the defense could only get the clips from the government that they were willing to provide in discovery. And when defense attorneys said, yeah, but we want to see his actions throughout the building that day, we want to see other people in that vicinity, the government would come back and say, no, you don't. That poses a national security threat to show you more than you need to see. And the judges, of course, mostly uniformly would sign off on that. That's still happening today, particularly in the two criminal indictments against Donald Trump, where the DOJ, Special Counsel Jack Smith, is withholding evidence, not the least of which, again, is video. It looks like the January 6th committee destroyed or has concealed 1,000 plus video recorded interviews with all of their witnesses who gave depositions to that committee. And as you will recall, the cherry-clipped videos that we saw in their national televised hearings, those full recordings now have been hidden somewhere or possibly destroyed. So Donald Trump's lawyers, when they've asked for those videos in relation to his January 6th trial in March, has been told by the Department of Justice, those videos are no longer available and you will just have to use the written transcript.
I wanted to get your reaction to one of the exchanges that Christopher Wray had with senators yesterday, and this was Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana asking Wray, since you had the Hunter Biden laptop as early as 2019, why didn't you say anything when people were suggesting there was no laptop or that it had, famously all the earmarks of a Russian disinformation campaign? Take a listen.
Why didn't the FBI just say, hey, the laptop's real? Why didn't you just tell everybody the laptop's real? We're not vouching for what's on it, but it's real. This isn't a fiction.
Well, as you might imagine, the FBI cannot, especially in a time like that, be talking about an ongoing investigation. Second, I would tell you that at least my understanding is that both the FBI folks involved in the conversations and the Twitter folks involved in the conversations both say that the FBI did not direct Twitter to suppress.
But others were in government.
Well, I can't speak to others in government. Now, that's part of the point that I was trying to make, because the Fifth Circuit's opinion...
But you're the FBI. You're not part of the White House and part of Homeland Security. You're not supposed to be political. You see all this controversy going on. Why didn't the FBI say, time out, folks, we're not getting in the middle of this, but the laptop's real?
Again, we have to be very careful about what we can say, especially in the middle of an election season, because that's precisely some of the problems that led to my predecessors' negative findings from the Inspector General.
Did you hear a gavel?
Well, first of all, we're always in the middle of an election season. And secondly, it's an incredible statement to say the middle of an election season, which is ongoing in perpetuity, is no time to tell the truth.
I wish Senator Kennedy had not interrupted really himself, because Christopher Wray is brazenly lying right there. Everyone knows it. The FBI field office in San Francisco, Elvis Chan, was in almost daily conversations, not only with Twitter, but other big tech companies, Facebook, we've heard Mark Zuckerberg testify to this, Google, et cetera, warning them that any reporting on the contents of Hunter Biden's laptop, which, by the way, the FBI got in December of 2019, so they had already had it for almost a year before the New York Post started reporting on it in October of 2020, and warns them that this was a Russian or foreign disinformation campaign, that if they did not suppress reporting on it, that the FBI would take steps to do so. And so that is how they did suppress. I think they shut down the New York Post Twitter account for more than a week after that was reported. And that was directly a result of the FBI's involvement in running interference for Hunter Biden's laptop, suppressing the contents that the New York Post and others were reporting on. That directly came from Christopher Wray's FBI. He lied once again under oath. He won't suffer any consequences, but Americans who are informed know that he's not telling the truth once again.
Julie Kelly, check out her work at her Substack, Declassified with Julie Kelly. She's also the author of the book, January 6th, How Democrats Used the Capitol Protest to Launch a War on Terror Against the Political Right. Julie, thank you as always.
Thanks, Dan and Amy. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too. Great work. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
There's nothing worse than hearing about people living in pain. So I'd like to tell you about Keith from Washington and his Relief Factor story. After years of activity, from college football to running a martial arts studio, at age 51, Keith's body felt like it was wearing out. So he gave Relief Factor a try. Keith says he now has, quote, little to no pain in my knees and highly reduced neck pain. Feeling so much better, he pursued a second-degree black belt. I can testify to everything except the black belt part, how much it has helped me. Relief Factor. If you're living with aches and pain, see how Relief Factor, a daily drug-free supplement, could help you feel and live better every day. To get started, try the Relief Factor 3-week quick start kit. It's only $19.95. Comes with a feel better or your money back guarantee. Visit relieffactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF. That's 800-4RELIEF.
You're smart, you're busy, and don't have time to waste on the mainstream media cycle. Salem News Channel breaks that cycle. Topics that matter, from hosts worth watching, Dinesh D'Souza, Andrew Wilkow, Brandon Tatum, and more. Open debate and free speech you won't find anywhere else. Salem News Channel, not like the other guys. Watch anytime on any screen, free 24/7. Find everything you need to know at snc.tv. That's snc.tv.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. You have a true partnership with a team that is invested in your success. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Kevin Bastuga, co-founder of Signature Bank. There's no better place to be for the holidays than Chicago. Signature Bank is wishing you a safe, healthy, and happy holiday season.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality this holiday season. Visit signaturebank.bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
And this is Brian Duncan, co-founder of Signature Bank. We wish you the very best this holiday season from Signature Bank, Chicago's business bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality this holiday season. Visit signaturebank.bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kathy Lee Gifford, and I've been blessed to have a wonderful career for a lot of years. People still come up to me all the time and they go, "How are you, Kathy Lee? How's your va-va-voom?" And I laugh with them and I tell them, still going strong, still taking my balance of nature every day and telling all my friends and loved ones to do the same. Because it's balance of nature, changing the world, one life at a time.
Celebrate Christmas with us. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order plus a free fiber and spice supplement with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code KLG.
Cold floors? The problem is probably down below in the basement or crawl space. Hi, I'm Roy Spencer with Permaseal. I'm happy to say that we can now help make your basement and crawl space warmer and therefore your upstairs more comfortable with our new product, PermaFoam. We spray this insulating foam between your floor joists, which will not only increase your energy efficiency, but will also deter insects, rodents, and is mold and mildew resistant. PermaFoam can be installed in just one day and is twice as effective as the old-fashioned fiberglass bats. For over 40 years, homeowners in Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana have trusted Permaseal to make their homes healthier and more valuable. Call a contractor you can rely on. Permaseal. 800-421-SEAL. That's 800-421-7325 or visit permaseal.net.
Your best for being better.
you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. The IRS just rolled out a new program to help struggling taxpayers more easily resolve their tax problems. It's called the Taxpayer Relief Initiative, and it opens up powerful new options for people looking to get back on the right track with the IRS. And no one knows this program like the professionals at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution company. They've resolved over $1 billion in tax debt for their clients and have the expertise and experience to help you. One easy call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries of wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Make today the beginning of your fresh start with the IRS. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief now for your free confidential consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I'm Corey, and this is my story. I was going through some financial troubles paying off my credit cards. I was paying high interest rates, and it just wasn't getting any better. And I knew I had to do something. So my mom told me about Trinity, and so I decided to call. Trinity was able to do something that I couldn't. I'm paying off my debt, I'm saving thousands, and things are really looking up. I promise you guys, you will not regret it when you call Trinity, because it was such a relief and less stress in my life, and it was the best thing I could have done for myself, because once I called Trinity, they took care of me, and I felt such a relief, a weight off my shoulders. Trinity was great to work with. They wanted to help me. I love it.
If you're in debt and you need help, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
I'm Corey, and I'm debt-free for keeps.
1-800-990-6976.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan, what are you going to do to commemorate the passing of Norman Lear?
Man, maybe I'll throw on some reruns of Sanford and Son.
Okay. All right, thanks so much for making us part of your morning, part of your lives. Thanks to Justin Kosick and Quinn McCarthy. We're back here bright and early tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. to break down that fourth debate. Have a good day. Now, into the newsroom we go. Here's Mike Scott.
The state stops the building of the Brighton Park Migrant Camp. A top 10 college hoops win for the Fighting Illini.